Chapter 17:21. He only hoped that he could tell Jiangchen everything he knew in exchange for Jiangchen's mercy. In Shi Yun's words, not until then did Jiangchen learn that Hikari's parents had been the Citra family's guardians and medical officers in their early years. Later, they had been expelled because they had violated the family's rules. Hikari was born after they had been expelled. Elder Shi Yun, do you think I can believe what you say just because of your surname? After listening, Jiangchen smiled disdainfully. I'm telling the truth, Master Jiangchen. If you can let me live, I'm willing to tell you everything I know about the great sect master. Shi Yun looked flustered and immediately shouted at the top of his voice. Shi Yun, how dare you? Hearing this, Sun Lian was furious. He endured and did not say anything before. If Shi Yun leaked the secret, it would be difficult for him to escape from Jiangchen, and he would certainly die. Noisy! Jiangchen frowned and waved his hand. He directly wrapped Sun Lian with immortal qi and cut off his connection with the outside world. Master Jiangchen, as far as I know, the great sect master seems to be planning something, which is why he has 10 subsects in the northern and eastern regions. Shi Yun swallowed his saliva and carefully pondered for a while. Then he spoke. What is he planning? Jiangchen listened with great interest. I don't know about this, but many disciples of our subsects have been injected with the unique immortal qi of the Black Sect and are thus controlled by the great sect master. Today's Citra family can be divided into 2 parts. One part is the original members of our family, and the other part is the people controlled by the great sect master. That group of people can be regarded as the real Black Sect subsect. Shi Yun shook his head and said, only the patriarch, the great elder, and a few elders in the family knew about this situation. As for the ordinary guardians and disciples, although they could vaguely sense that something was wrong in the family, they were only aware of it and did not know the situation. What else? Jiangchen's brows were still furrowed. He continued to analyze Shi Yun's words. From Shi Yun's expression, he could tell that Shi Yun was not lying. From this, he could be sure that he seemed to have discovered a huge secret in the immortal world, and this secret seemed to be able to shake the entire immortal world. The sect master of the Black Sect was an existence that was not weaker than the 3 great immortal kings. The matter that he had planned and prepared for thousands of years would definitely not be simple. Also, the sect master has taken 10 people away from our Citra family. These people seem to have gone to the Black Sect in the outer realm. But since then, we haven't heard any news about these disciples. Shi Yun thought carefully. Then where are Bai Fengyu and Hikari? Compared to these, Jiangchen was more concerned about their whereabouts. I don't know. This matter was handed over to Elder Shi Meng and Elder Shi Yuan by a soul clone of the headmaster. They haven't returned for more than 10 days. They even took the strongest disciples and several protectors with them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have, Shi Yun said with a heavy sigh. The meaning of his words was very clear. If that group of people had not left, Jiangchen would definitely not be his opponent. Still a bunch of nonsense. Jiangchen interrupted him. If he didn't get the whereabouts of Bai Fengyu and Hikari, even if he got the secret of the immortal world, what could he do? I can call them back to the family. Shi Yun continued. I need to see them before it gets dark. Jiangchen's eyes narrowed, and he said in a low voice, if you dare to do anything against me, if I can kill you once, I can kill you a second time. Do you understand? Then Jiangchen walked up to Shi Yun's corpse. He took out a red elixir from his storage ring and stuffed it into Shi Yun's hand. Then he mobilized his immortal power to let the elixir take effect in Shi Yun's body. A moment later, Shi Yun felt that the illusory feeling of his soul body gradually disappeared and was replaced by a feeling of fullness. Before he could think about it, a suction force suddenly burst out and pulled his soul back into his body. He got up from the ground. Shi Yun saw that he had come back from the dead and that the wound on his chest had disappeared. He immediately knelt on the ground and cupped his hands towards Jiangchen and said in a deep voice, Lord Jiangchen, rest assured, I will definitely not let you down. Sect Master, oh no, Sect Master of the Black Sect has caused my Citra family to be in such a state. I have long wanted to rebel. Get up. Jiangchen waved his hand. Remember what you said, otherwise, no one can protect you. After it gets dark, We will come again. Huafu wrapped her arms around her chest, squeezing her full breast to the point that even her clothes were about to burst. In the blink of an eye, the three of them disappeared, along with Sun Lian, who was wrapped in immortal qi. Xiyun's whole body relaxed, and he knelt on the tree, panting heavily. Sweat also dripped from his forehead and arms. A moment later, the tree slowly disappeared, revealing its original appearance. The people waiting outside immediately rushed in and supported Xiyun, who was kneeling on the ground. Second Elder, what's the situation? Did someone break into our Citra family? A few elders helped him up and asked. I comprehended a wood attribute immortal qi, immortal technique, but I didn't expect that with my current strength, I can't master it. If I didn't react in time at the critical moment, I'm afraid I would have fallen to the ground. Xian took out a wood attribute immortal technique from his storage ring and waved it at them. Second Elder, we hope that you can comprehend it in the future and become a dual attribute cultivator. Hearing this, the elders and disciples cupped their hands and said, Go inform Elder Xiyun and ask him to contact Xi Ming and Xi Yuan and ask them to return to the family immediately. I have something to tell them. Xiyun was just about to return to his seat to rest when he turned his head and saw Shi Sheng and the others lying dead in the corner. He suddenly realized that when Jiang Chun and the other two left, they only took Sun Lian with them and did not take the bodies of Shi Sheng and the others. He was shocked and quickly walked out of the main hall while giving the order. Yes, Second Elder. An elder nodded in agreement. However, when he remembered that Xiyun had just gone to the dungeon to bring that person out, he continued to ask, Second Elder, did you get Jiang Chen's whereabouts from that person from Kunlun, Celestial Mountain? This person was very stubborn and refused to tell me about Jiang Chen's situation, so I killed him. Xiyun explained casually. Also, I sensed that 10 immortal venerables in our family released their cultivation at the same time, but they concealed it in an instant. Another elder asked. Chapter 1722. The matters of immortal venerables have nothing to do with you. Xian interrupted him. The elder he spoke of was his opponent. He was the great sect master's representative in the family. Especially now that the patriarch and great elder weren't present, the great sect master would directly tell Hit and have him deal with it, completely hiding it from him. He would only be contacted when there was a need for experts in the family to take action. The capture of Bai Fengyu and Hikari to threaten the great sect master was the best proof. Just thinking about it made Xian break out in a cold sweat. When he had first met Jiang Chun, he had wanted to take advantage of him. But now it seemed like he had been courting death back then. In the evening, Xi Ming and Xi Yuan returned to the family. When they returned, they didn't look for Xi Yun immediately. Instead, they went to the Drunken Moon Inn in the city to enjoy themselves. They only rushed to the main hall when the sky was completely dark. Second Elder, I wonder why you called us back in such a hurry. Looking at the old man sitting on the main seat, Xi Ming cupped his hands respectfully. We were ordered by Great Elder to look after Bai Fengyu and Hikari. If anything happens to them, no one can bear the responsibility. All of you can leave first. Xian coughed softly. He looked at the elders sitting on both sides and waved his hand. Yes, Second Elder. The elders stood up and cupped their hands before leaving. When only the three of them were left in the main hall, Xian relaxed a little. Just as he was about to find a topic to delay the two of them, a slightly familiar aura fluctuation appeared in his perception range. Then, the main hall was suddenly enveloped by a majestic immortal force. Jiang Chen and the other two slowly appeared from the boundary. Second Elder, this is... Xi Ming and Xi Yuan stood up and looked at Jiang Chen, who was completely unfamiliar to them. They sensed the immortal monarch fluctuation from Huafu and Jiang Yuan. Elder Xiyun, it seems that you still abide by the rules between us. Of course, I won't let you down. Jiang Chen laughed. Xian laughed awkwardly. Who are you people? What rules do you have with the Second Elder? Xi Ming looked at Jiang Chen cautiously. He could sense danger from this person. Who I am is not important. What's important is where Bai Fengyu and Hikari are. Tell me honestly. Jiang Chen narrowed his eyes and looked at them. In any case, Jiang Yuan had already set up a barrier here. The people outside couldn't see what was going on in the main hall, and the sound and immortal energy fluctuations within the barrier would be blocked by the immortal energy. Not the slightest bit of it could be transmitted to the outside. You are Jiangchen? Second elder, this person should be Jiangchen. Quickly take him down. Both Shi Ming and Shi Yuan were not fools. Jiangchen's words had exposed them completely. They exerted the immortal power in their bodies right away to exert their immortal venerables cultivations. At the same time, they were ready to switch the fight. They shouted at Shi Yun loudly. Shi Yun lowered her head and did not say a word. It seems like the second elder has been bribed by you. After losing a half-step immortal monarch expert like Shi Yun, Shi Ming, and Shi Yuan knew that they were no match for the three people in front of them. Rise, Jiang Chun said in a low voice. The dense forest once again emerged within the barrier. In just a blink of an eye, the branches that were as thick as an arm bound Shi Yuan and Shi Ming to the thick tree trunk. Moreover, the branches were constantly absorbing the immortal energy in their bodies, making it impossible for them to cast any low-level immortal techniques. If you don't say it, this day next year will be the anniversary of your death. Jiang Chun condensed a long needle of light attribute on his fingertip and pierced it into Shi Ming's shoulder. We won't say it. Shi Ming clenched his teeth and insisted after feeling the pain. You won't say it? Jiang Chen's face darkened. Rays of light attribute light pierced into Shi Ming and Shi Yuan's body one after another. The two of them screamed in pain at the beginning, but in the end, they became numb and their expressions became dull. Shi Ming and Shi Yuan only regained their senses when they felt their life force slipping away. Don't kill me. Shi Ming used the last of his strength to beg. He knew that if he did not beg for mercy, he would really die here. What about you? Jiang Chen smiled and looked at Shi Yuan on the other side. Shi Yuan had already lost the ability to speak. Apart from fear, there was also a pleading look in his eyes. Seeing that he did not speak, Jiang Chen turned around and said, Then I'll leave. Please stay. I'll tell you everything. Shi Ming's voice was hoarse. He could no longer feel pain. As his voice fell, the branches that were binding them loosened. The two of them fell to the ground with a plop. The rays of light disappeared, and the two of them laid on the ground, twitching nonstop. Jiang Chen was not in a hurry. He just stood there and watched quietly. Not until they had recovered did they get to their feet slowly. However, their robes had been soaked in sweat. They didn't dare look at Jiang Chen in the eye, because they were afraid he would do it again on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Speak. Tell me everything you know. Jiang Chen placed his hands on his waist and said, Bai Fengyu and Shi Man are locked up in a mountain 100 miles west of the family. Other than us, there are more than 10 family disciples guarding them. However, they are under the control of the great sect master. Shi Ming panted heavily. Although his strength was weaker than Shi Yuan, fortunately, he cultivated physical skills and his body was able to withstand it. Jiang Chun did not reply. When he used the 10 directions deduction, it was similar to what Shi Ming said. He could also sense the location of Bai Fengyu and Shi Yuan. Let's go and take a look at the situation, Jiang Yuan said impatiently. Only by rescuing the two of them in the shortest time could he feel that his sins would dissipate. Before that, there is another thing to do. Jiang Chun waved his hand and left the spirit boundary. In the dungeon, Jiang Chun knocked out the family members guarding the door and pushed the door open. Everyone, what you said earlier, does it still count? Looking at the people locked up in the dungeon, Jiang Chun smiled and asked loudly, What is this? How did he come in like this? The people in the dungeon looked at Jiang Chun in disbelief. To them, this was simply impossible. Jiang Chun mobilized the immortal force in his body. When it reached the peak, it suddenly spread out. Crack! 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 The immortal force locks of the cells were all forcefully broken by Jiang Chun. Big brother, we will do what we said. We will follow your lead in the future. Seeing the cells open, the group of people finally believed him. They came out one after another and knelt in front of Jiang Chun. Chapter 17:23. Good. Jiang Chun laughed and said, After you go out, go to the main hall of the Citra family and find someone called Jiang Yuan. Listen to his orders. Yes. Dozens of people answered in unison. After Jiang Chen walked out of the dungeon, he immediately left with Huofu and rushed toward the west. Jiang Yuan was left behind by him. Jiang Chen was not completely at ease with just Shi Yun and Shi Ming's words. Moreover, he knew that there was definitely more information in this family that he did not know. Several hundred miles to the west of the Citra family, the mountain range here was as long as the one behind the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. The mountain range was covered with dense forests, where many immortal beasts and strange beasts lived. There were even some hidden experts. Moreover, there was even a rumor that an expert at the 7th level of the Immortal King realm had once lived in seclusion and perished. This caused many people to flock madly to this place in search of treasures. Yet no one had ever heard of anyone obtaining any treasures. Don't be impatient. Be careful. The people of the Dark Sect may have laid a trap here. Don't fall for it. When they arrived at the bottom of the mountain range, Huofu saw that Jiang Chen wanted to go into the mountain range directly. She quickly walked 2 steps forward and pulled him back. I know. Jiang Chen took a deep breath and nodded. The moment he stepped into the mountain range, he felt a miasma rush toward him. The whole mountain range seemed to be shrouded in a thick fog. His immortal power was completely blocked around his body and could not spread out. He could not sense the situation nearby at all. Without knowing the situation of the mountain range, Jiang Chen did not dare to act rashly. He slowly crept inside with Huofu. At the same time, in the mountain range, a figure flashed into the cave. Who is it? The few members of the Citra family who were guarding inside immediately became alert and looked toward the door. Where are Shi Ming and Shi Yuan? Kuyu walked out from the shadows of the passage. He scanned the situation inside and asked indifferently, sensing the familiar aura of this person. Although it was an unfamiliar face, these clansmen who had been eroded by the dark power clearly understood that this person was their sect master. Thus, he immediately cupped his hands and replied respectfully, Sect leader, Elder Shi Ming and Elder Shi Yuan have been summoned back to the clan. They left us here to guard this place. You are the leader of the Black Sect? Hearing their words, the tied-up by Fengyu hurriedly looked up. She had been by Jiang Chen's side since the Celestial Emperor's tomb, so she was naturally familiar with some of the situations that Jiang Chen had encountered. However, she had never seen Kuyu before and did not know that this person was the young master of Tianling Mountain. He was just curious. Even a true immortal king like Bai Shaoyan couldn't deal with this expert, whose strength wasn't any weaker than the 3 great immortal kings, actually looked so young. Jiang Chen killed my disciple, and now his disciple is in my hands. If it weren't for the promise of 2 realms and the promise of 1,000 years, I would definitely kill all of you. Looking at Bai Fengyu, Kuyu revealed a sinister smile. He walked in front of Bai Fengyu and stretched out his sickly pale finger, gently tickling her chin. Take your filthy hand away. Bai Fengyu struggled with all her might. Although this Jiang Chen is detestable, he actually got lucky and did something for me. Kuyu looked at Hikari. I heard that you are also his disciple, right? While speaking, Kuyu squatted in front of Hikari and carefully sized up the little girl in front of him. I'm warning you, if you dare to hurt Hikari, don't blame me for fighting you to the death. Seeing him looking at Hikari, Bai Fengyu was instantly enraged. She knew that she wasn't his opponent, but she wouldn't watch Hikari encounter danger without doing anything. However, Kuyu didn't care about Bai Fengyu at all. He looked at Hikari for a while, and the smile on his face grew wider. Little girl, from today onwards, you are no longer Jiang Chen's disciple, but the person who will inherit my legacy. Kuyu stood up and laughed loudly. Jiang Chen, oh Jiang Chen, you killed my disciple, and now you compensate me with another one. If you are honest in the future, I can spare your life. As soon as he finished speaking, a black fog rose from his body and wrapped around Hikari. Little Junior's sister, Bai Fengyu's eyes widened as she looked at the black fog and shouted. However, her entire body was tightly bound by ropes, and no matter what she did, she couldn't break free. She could only watch as the black fog disappeared in front of her, along with Hikari's fluctuations. The moment Kuyu left, the clansmen who had been corroded by the dark energy gradually regained their clarity. The few of them looked at the situation inside the cave with confused looks on their faces. "Miss, why are you tied up here? And how did we get here?" One of the clansmen ran in front of Bai Fengyu and reached out to untie her as he asked curiously. "Scram!" Bai Fengyu didn't know why this group of people suddenly returned to normal, but she wasn't in the mood to care about this. Hikari was taken away by the Black Sect's sect master. What she needed to do was to immediately leave this place and inform Jiang Chun of the situation so that he could think of a way to save Hikari. Walking out of the cave and entering the miasma, Bai Fengyu fell to the ground with a plop. After being tied up for a long time, the immortal power in her body had been consumed at a terrifying rate. Moreover, with her cultivation, she was unable to resist the poisonous gas in the mountain range. "I must inform Master of this news." Bai Fengyu gritted her teeth. She knew that the later she informed Jiang Chun, the greater the danger Hikari would encounter. During this period of time, she had already established a deep friendship with Hikari. Even though they were fellow disciples, their relationship was actually closer than that of real sisters. On the other side, Jiang Chun had just entered the mountain range when he stopped while clutching his chest. "What's wrong?" Huafu rushed to Jiang Chun's side and reached out to hold his arm as she asked with concern. "It's nothing. I just suddenly felt a little uncomfortable in my chest and I can't breathe." Jiang Chun shook his head and pinched the flesh on his chest. After taking a few deep breaths, he felt a little better. "Maybe your cultivation is too low and you can't completely isolate the miasma in the mountain range." Huafu pressed her white and slender palm on Jiang Chun's back and instilled her immortal power into Jiang Chun's body. "It's also possible," Jiang Chun said casually. However, in the entire immortal world, golden immortals were already considered to be above average in strength. If even he couldn't resist it, then according to the rumors, those who wanted to obtain the immortal king's relic would probably die no matter how many people came in. After relaxing for a while and feeling a little better, Jiang Chun continued to walk inside with Huafu. The deeper he went, the more he could vaguely sense Bai Fengyu's aura in the miasma. Chapter 17:24. However, Hikari still couldn't sense it. Jiang Chun couldn't help but feel worried. After completely entering the mountain range, Jiang Chun mobilized all the immortal power in his body and spread it out to the surroundings. The sharp immortal power directly cut open the miasma. Although it couldn't spread out as far as tens of miles or even hundreds of miles, it could still sense the surrounding situation. When the immortal power spread out, Jiang Chun suddenly furrowed his brows. In the miasma of the mountain range, he could vaguely sense Bai Fengyu's approximate location. "Follow me." Jiang Chun didn't have time to think. He dashed over there right away. Seeing this, Huafu followed closely behind, worried that Jiang Chun might be ambushed or plotted by the other party. A few minutes later, Jiang Chun reached the bottom of a cliff. Using his perception, he reached the foot of the mountain and saw Bai Fengyu fainted on the ground. "Fengyu!" Jiang Chun rushed over and helped her up from the ground. "How is she?" Huafu followed closely and asked with a worried expression. "Her condition is not very good. She has already fainted," Jiang Chun said, frowning, as he put his hand on her wrist and sensed how weak she was. "You take her back? I will look for Hikari." Huafu vigilantly scanned the surroundings and spread out her immortal monarch aura. The strange beasts and immortal beasts living nearby all quickly fled after sensing it. "You take Fengyu back, I will stay in the mountain range." Jiang Chun took a deep breath and said while shaking his head. Seeing Jiang Chun's firm tone, Huafu didn't say anything. After helping Bai Fengyu up, she directly rushed out of the mountain range. Jiang Chun sat in the same place for a while before disappearing into the mountain range again. 2 days later, Jiang Chun returned to the Citra family. The moment he entered the family's gate, Huafu and Zhang Yuan immediately rushed out of their rooms after sensing it. "Did you find her?" When the two arrived at the family's gate and saw Jiang Chun standing outside, they quickly asked. "No." Jiang Chun shook his head, his eyes bloodshot. Jiang Chun had been in the mountains for 2 days. Not only did he not find Hikari, but the miasma had also invaded his body. Although it did not cause any serious damage, it did cause him some discomfort. "Fengyu has awakened." No matter how Jiang Yuan and I asked her, she refused to say anything. She said that she must wait for you to come back. The smile on Huafu's face disappeared completely, but her heart was relieved. Although they were disappointed that they could not find Akari, it was also a kind of luck to see Jiangchun come out of it safe and sound. It should be known that they were facing the unfathomable lord of the Hyman sect. Even if Emperor Qinji was still alive, even if Tianji's sect was still the top sect in the eastern region, these foreign sects did not have a deep understanding of them. Jiang Chun was startled and did not say anything. He immediately sensed Bai Fingyu's location and rushed towards the guest room. Pushing open the door, Jiang Chun saw Bai Fingyu, who was wearing a long skirt, lying on the bed. Beside her were two female clansmen of the Citra family taking care of her. Fingyu! Jiang Chun hurriedly entered the room. Seeing the two clansmen, he waved his hand to let them leave. Hikari, did you find her? Bai Fingyu endured the discomfort in her body and got off the bed. Don't worry about this first. Take care of your body first. Jiang Chun strode forward, held her, and then carried her to the bed. He said softly, I will definitely find Hikari. But what I don't understand is that you were captured together. Why are you separated now? Master, many things have happened. Listen to me. Bai Fingyu smiled helplessly when she felt Jiang Chen's strong arm. She told Jiang Chen everything that had happened in the mountain range behind the Kunlun Immortal Mountain and how Hikari had been taken away by the Black School's master. Listening to her words, Jiang Chen's brows gradually wrinkled. This news was not different from what he thought. But the only thing Jiang Chen didn't understand was why the Black Sect's sect master took Hikari away. If he wanted to use Hikari to threaten him, then he should know that Bai Fingyu had been by his side for a longer time. Using her as a bargaining chip to threaten him would have more weight. Moreover, since he took Bai Fingyu away, there was no reason to release her now. Master, you must save Hikari. She finally escaped from the underground arena with great difficulty. Now that she has fallen into the hands of the Black Sect's sect master, she will definitely not have a good life. Bai Fingyu tightly grasped Jiang Chen's hand. Feeling her cold and delicate hands, Jiang Chen couldn't help but take her into his arms. Bai Fingyu didn't struggle. She leaned her head on Jiang Chen's chest. Don't worry, I will definitely not let her stay in the hands of the Black Sect's sect master. No matter what method I use, I will save her. Jiang Chen tightly grasped Bai Fingyu's hand and swore softly. Master, I feel that he seems to be plotting something. Feeling the warmth of Jiang Chen's body, Bai Fingyu's mouth revealed a smile. What plot? Jiang Chen was a little surprised. When he took Hikari away, he said that you killed his disciple, so he will take your disciple away. He also said that you have saved him some trouble. Could it be that Hikari is hiding some secret? Bai Fingyu broke away from Jiang Chen's embrace and asked. Maybe. Jiang Chen stroked her hair and said, You rest well here. I will go and ask the people of the Citra family. Bai Fingyu obediently nodded. Leaving the guest room, Jiang Chun went directly to the family's main hall. At this time, the Citra family had almost completely fallen into the hands of Jiang Chun. A group of people led by Shi Yin had completely submitted to Jiang Chun and submitted to Jiang Yuan's strength. Those people that were released from the prison did not leave. Instead, they stayed in the Citra family and listened to Jiang Yuan's orders. As for the group of people in the Citra family who had sided with the Black Sect's sect master, other than Shi Yuan and Shi Ming, who were heavily injured, only Elder Shi Te was still holding on. Young master! Just as he walked into the main hall, Jiang Chun heard a deafening shout. Looking up, those people that he released from the prison were all kneeling on one knee in the main hall and cupping their hands towards him. This group of people is not bad. They are all people that offended the Citra family and were imprisoned. I have already persuaded them to join us. This can be considered as the first step towards reviving the Tianji sect. Jiang Chen scratched his head and laughed as he arrived in front of Jiang Chen. You told them? Jiang Chen frowned slightly. Of course not. I only told them that we will establish a new sect in the future. It is not good to call you sect master, so I told them to call you young master. Jiang Yuan waved his hand and said. Chapter 17:25. Young master it is then. Jiangchen nodded with satisfaction. This was a group of experts he'd roped in after entering the immortal world. Although their strength ranged from true immortals to sky immortals, they were still considered average in the entire immortal world. It was a good start. Young master, from now on, our Citra clan will obey you. Shiyin walked shakily to Jiangchen. Ever since Jiangchen had left, he'd heard Jiangchen talk a lot about him from Jiang Yuan, Pavilion Master of the Divination Pavilion, Alliance Leader of the Overseas Immortal Mountain Alliance. He had more than a dozen quasi-immortal kings and immortal kings as his subordinates. Even in the vast immortal realm, he could be considered an overlord. Now that the Citra clan had broken away from the Dark Sect and turned to Jiangchen, there were only advantages and no disadvantages. For someone like Shiyin who'd lived for thousands of years, he naturally understood this principle, so he didn't discuss it with the other elders and directly made this choice. The elders on both sides of the hall kept their mouths shut. After Shiyin said those words, they knew what it meant. Good. Jiangchen laughed loudly. Young lord, please take a seat, Shiyin said to Jiangchen with a smile, cupping her hands at him. Jiangchen didn't hesitate and sat at the head of the hall, with Jiang Yuan and Huofu at his side. In front of him were the experts in the dungeon and the people of the Citra clan. Young master, although our Citra clan has pledged allegiance to you, there are still many voices of opposition in the clan. Among them, the one who resisted the most fiercely is Elder Hit. Shiyin bowed to Jiangchen with a smile. Hit. Jiangchen narrowed his eyes. This person is one of the great master's people. Whenever the great master has an order, he would use a soul avatar to inform Hit, and then Hit would inform the rest of us. However, many times, without informing us, they would act on their own initiative. Shiyin nodded and informed Jiangchen about the whole situation without holding anything back. Bring him here, Jiangchen said with a faint smile. Very quickly, Hit was brought to the main hall by a few clansmen. As soon as he entered the main hall, Hit swept his eyes over Shiyin and the others and sneered. A bunch of trash who betrayed the great sect master, completely forgetting the care the great sect master has given us for hundreds and thousands of years. Hit, tell me everything you know about the Black Sect master, and I'll spare your life. Thinking of Ikari's bizarre disappearance and the words that by phone you had said to him, Jiangchen knew that there were still many things he didn't know about the Black Sect master. Dream on, Jiangchen. Now that the Citra family has surrendered to you, you can kill me if you want, and you can let me go if you don't want to. You can't get any information about the great sect master from me. Hit's body stiffened as he looked at Jiangchen and said loudly. In his view, he had done so many things for the great sect master, even sacrificing the interests of the Citra family. Now that he was at death's door, the great sect master would definitely save him. What he said was also to express his feelings to the great sect master. Oh, is that so? The smile on Jiangchen's face gradually froze. With a wave of his hand, 2 sharp wooden sticks appeared in his palm and stabbed toward Hit. Poochie! The wooden sticks directly pierced his chest. Hit also spat out a mouthful of blood. He raised his hand slightly. The wooden sticks slowly floated in the air and brought Hit to the top of the main hall. The pain in his chest made Hit's expression gradually become ferocious. He couldn't struggle. As long as he exerted a little strength, the pain in his body would almost destroy his reason. He kept praying in his heart that the great sect master could rush over in time and kill everyone in the main hall and save him. Unfortunately, time passed minute by minute. He had been suspended in the air for nearly half an hour, but he still didn't feel the great sect master's aura fluctuation. Elder Hit, are you still not going to say it now? Jiangchen looked up at him and asked indifferently. Jiangchen, I'll say it again. If you want to know about the great sect master from my mouth, there's no way. Hit gritted his teeth and roared at the top of his voice. If you kill me today, the great elder will definitely avenge me in the future. At that time, you will beg for death. Gee, if the head of the Black Gate was going to take action, he wouldn't have to watch the Black Cloud sect being taken care of by us. Even the head of the sect, Sun Lian, is now in our hands. Hearing Hit's delusional words, Huofu couldn't help but sneer and ridicule. Young master, I also know some things about the great sect master. I can tell you the truth. Looking at Hit's miserable appearance, Xian stepped forward and said, Xian, do you dare to say that you're not afraid of the great sect master taking your life? Hit shouted, the Hit family has long been neither human nor ghost. Do you dare to say that the disappearance of the patriarch and the great elder has nothing to do with the great sect master? Xian also sneered. At this point, he didn't care about this at all. Only by telling the whole situation could he get Jiang Qin's trust. So, if the great elder really came to find trouble, Jiang Qin and Jiang Qin's experts could protect him. Yu He was about to refute, but before the words could come out of his mouth, the two wooden sticks that pierced into his body erupted with a strong fluctuation of immortal force, which directly impacted his internal organs and meridians, causing serious injuries. Plop, the stick disappeared, and Hit fell heavily onto the ground. He raised his head to look at Jiang Qin. As soon as he opened his mouth, blood spurted out. His energy was extremely weak, and even a gust of wind could have blown him to death. Young master, as far as I know, the great sect master seems to be secretly plotting a very big plan. Many young people in our family have been taken away by him and have never returned. Even the patriarch and the great elder mysteriously disappeared from the family several decades ago. Although there's no evidence to prove that it's related to the great sect master, who else can do it besides him? Xian knelt on one knee and cupped his hands at Jiang Qin. What else? Jiang Qin kept these words in mind. There's more. Xian thought seriously, but soon he wryly smiled and shook his head. I don't know anything else. Apart from Hit, the rest of the family knows very little about the great sect master. They haven't even seen his soul. Take him away and take good care of him. I'll ask him after he recovers. If he dies, I'll make trouble for you, Jiang Qin ordered, pointing at Hit, who was lying on the ground. Yes, young master. Several experts stepped forward at the same time, helped Hit up, and quickly left the hall. Chapter 1726. In the evening, Jiang Qin returned to the guest room. However, he returned to Bai Fingyu's room. Where's Hikari? Bai Fingyu struggled to sit up on the bed. Although she had already rested for 2 to 3 days, the damage caused by the miasma had not completely recovered. She looked very weak and pale, looking very pitiful. Any man who saw her would probably be moved and would want to dote on her. There's still no news. Jiang Qin shook his head and said, if you want to save her, you have to hurry and find the other 18 subsects of Black Sect in the East and North Domain. Start from these subsects and get news of her. Or increase your strength and directly go to the outer domain. Jiang Qin clenched his fist. He was not afraid that Black Sect's sect master would come for him. Anyway, he had White Robe Immortal King and Zhou Kunlun's protection. At the critical moment, these two almighty experts would definitely rush over. However, they would save him, but not Hikari. Master, I feel that something is wrong with my body. Hearing Jiang Qin's words, Bai Fingyu felt anxious. Following which, her face flushed red and her entire body became boiling hot, as if she would explode at any moment. Fingyu! Jiang Qin frowned and pressed his hands on her shoulders. But after a short while, he felt that his palms were unbearably hot. Thus, he immediately retracted his hands. Under such high temperature, Bai Fingyu gradually fainted. However, her clothes were gradually disappearing. Her originally white skin was now red in front of Jiang Qin. Not caring whether he should look or not, Jiang Qin mobilized the immortal energy in his body and directly transferred it into Bai Fingyu's body through his palm. Under the perception of the immortal energy, Jiang Qin understood what was going on. The miasma in Bai Fingyu's body had not completely dissipated, leaving behind a very dense lump on her chest. It was probably because she had just found out that Hikari was missing. Her emotions suddenly fluctuated, causing her chi and blood to become unstable. This gave the miasma an opportunity. After understanding the situation, Jiang Qin was relieved. Mobilizing the immortal energy, he gradually forced the miasma out. Bai Fingyu's body temperature also gradually decreased. After about an hour, Jiang Qin exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and withdrew his immortal force back into his body. Bai Fengyu's body temperature had just returned to normal, and her red skin was as white and delicate as before. Just as Jiang Chun was about to warn her to rest well, Bai Fengyu suddenly turned around. She had just woken up from her coma, and her thoughts had not yet recovered. She only felt a very warm aura enter her body, and after a while, all the pain and discomfort disappeared completely. Master, thank you. Therefore, the first thing she did when she opened her eyes was to thank Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun had just finished recuperating his immortal energy. When he heard Bai Fengyu's words, he subconsciously raised his head. But he just happened to see that scene, Master. Seeing that Jiang Chen's gaze was somewhat straight, Bai Fengyu lowered her head and saw that there was not a single piece of clothing in front of her. She was completely naked. That your body temperature was too high just now, and your clothes were all burned clean. Jiang Chen awkwardly cleared his throat. Indeed, he had just seen it, but at that time he was in a hurry to treat her, so he did not think much about it. But now, Bai Fengyu's face and skin instantly turned red, even redder than when her body temperature was high. Her body was also slightly trembling. She had never thought that she would face Jiang Chun in such a shameful state. Why don't you put on some clothes first? Jiang Chun took a deep breath and firmly suppressed that nameless flame in his body. Bai Fengyu was waiting for Jiang Chun to make a move. She had been waiting for this day for a very long time. But now that she finally had the chance and was about to make substantial progress, Jiang Chen actually wanted her to put on some clothes? I won't. Bai Fengyu mustered all her strength and shook her head to deny. Be obedient and put on your clothes first. Jiang Chen was extremely embarrassed and immediately got up from the bed. Jiang Chen, can you be more like a man? Bai Fengyu was somewhat angry. She directly stretched out her hand and grabbed Jiang Chen's arm and tugged. Jiang Chen slipped and fell onto the bed. And in front of him were two towering mountains. Gulp, Jiang Chen swallowed his saliva. No matter how strong his willpower was, he was still a normal man. Facing Bai Fengyu, this kind of rare beauty in the immortal world, in front of him, if he was still able to control himself, then wouldn't he not be able to be called a man? Fengyu, don't regret it. Jiang Chen turned over and pressed her down. I won't regret it. Bai Fengyu crossed her arms in front of her chest and looked at Jiang Chen with teary eyes. Master, you have to be gentler. These words directly exploded in Jiang Chen's mind. He used his strength to throw the blanket on the ground, and then used his strength to hug Bai Fengyu. Not long later, a touch of amorous feelings spread out in the room. Outside the guest room, Jiang Yuan and Horfu stood on the left and right. Their ears were filled with those decadent sounds. Cough, cough, this brat's physical strength is still very strong. Horfu's face was also somewhat red. Although she was from the Flame Phoenix race and was a spirit beast, she had gained intelligence for thousands of years. Naturally, she was very concerned about some matters regarding humans. What I am concerned about is, will Bai Fengyu call young master master or husband in the future? Jiang Yuan's expression was very normal. When he was by Emperor Qianji's side, he had heard many such sounds. Call whatever you want. You stay here and protect her. I'm going back to rest. Horfu waved her hand. Hearing such sounds, her heart was also somewhat uncomfortable. She directly left and walked towards her guest room. One night quietly passed. At the beginning, Jiang Yuan was still listening with interest. Occasionally, he would even listen to the conversation. But towards the end, it became more and more boring. Thus, he yawned and sat at the door and fell asleep. After dawn, Jiang Chen pushed open the door and prepared to get a basin of water for Bai Fengyu to wipe her body. Yesterday, the miasma had been expelled. After a night of intense exercise, it caused a layer of faint dirt to adhere to the surface of her skin. This was the excretion of the poison in her body. F***CK. Just as Jiang Chun pushed open the door, he saw Jiang Yuan sitting on the steps at the door and instantly cursed it. After turning his head and seeing that Bai Fengyu was not awakened by him, he hurriedly closed the door and dragged the sleeping Jiang Yuan to a corner. Young master, did something happen? Jiang Yuan rubbed his eyes and asked sleepily. Brat, you didn't sleep last night. Have you been here all this time? Jiang Chen pulled his arm. Thinking that Jiang Yuan had heard what he and Bai Fengyu did last night, he wished he could directly kill him. Chapter 1727. What? Jiang Yuan pretended to be dumb. What time did you come here yesterday? Jiang Qin took a deep breath. Just a while ago. I was worried that someone in the Citra family would not give up and want to make a move on you, so I came to protect you. Jiang Yuan looked as if he didn't know what was going on. Did something happen? When we immortal apes sleep, we lose our sense of hearing. Really? Jiang Qin looked at his expression, half believing and half doubting. Of course it's true. Did something happen? Jiang Yuan nodded heavily. Nothing. If you want to sleep, go back to the guest room. Seeing that he did not look like he was lying, Jiang Qin relaxed and waved his hand. I don't need to be guarded here. The people of the Citra family are not a threat to me. In. Jiang Yuan nodded and immediately turned to leave. Phew. Jiang Qin let out a long sigh of relief. If they knew what had happened, he would lose all face. Compared to Jiang Qin, Jiang Yuan let out a long sigh. Fortunately, he had reacted quickly. Otherwise, he would have been in big trouble. After getting water for Bai Fengyu to wash her body, Jiang Qin lay on the bed. Hikari's whereabouts were completely missing, and there was no way to find the Black Sect's sect master. The only clue left was Hit. Hit was locked up in the dungeon, and the people guarding him were the experts who were locked up here before. In just a few days, his status had changed. Young Master is here. Feeling Jiang Qin's familiar aura, the dungeon instantly boiled up. These people all gathered at the entrance of the dungeon, half kneeling and cupping their hands. Where's Hit? Jiang Qin glanced at them and asked. He's locked up inside. Several people spoke at the same time. Take me to see him. Jiang Qin raised his hand and had them stand up. At the end of the dungeon, Jiang Qin saw Hit. At this time, Hit was tied to a wooden stake. His aura was low, and he looked like he could die at any time. Elder Hit, how do you feel about this place? Jiang Qin smiled. As I said before, if you want to kill me, then kill me. But if you want to get information about the great sect master from my mouth, there's no way. Hit gnashed his teeth. If he had the chance, he would definitely rush up and fight Jiang Qin to the death. Don't be so anxious. I'm just here to have a chat with you. Relax. Jiang Qin walked in front of him, and with a wave of his hand, he untied the rope. Suddenly losing his support, Hit fell heavily to the ground. The sect master of the Black Sect captured my disciple. Now, the Citra family is in my hands, and the Black Cloud sect has been completely destroyed by me. If he wanted to help you, he wouldn't have waited until now. So, in my opinion, you should give up. There are only two things you can do now. The first is to obey my orders, and the second is to completely disappear from the immortal world. But before that, I'll let you see an old friend. After Jiang Qin finished speaking, he once again spread out the immortal force boundary like he did with Shiyun. After completely constructing the space in the dungeon, he took out the jade bottle and released Sun Lian. Jiang Qin, hurry up and kill me. Don't torture me anymore. Sun Lian's soul rushed out of the bottle and shouted at Jiang Qin. Ever since he was captured by Jiang Qin, he had come in and out of the jade bottle 3 or 4 times in a row. Each time, his soul would weaken a little. If it happened a few more times, he might not even need to be killed. He would directly disappear into thin air. Sect Master Sun Lian, please persuade Elder Shichong to tell me everything he knows. If he doesn't, his consequences will be more severe than yours. Jiang Qin, who was sitting on the immortal power, spoke to the soul body in front of him. Sect Master Sun Lian? He was a little surprised. He didn't expect the rumors to be true. The dignified sect master of the Black Cloud sect had actually fallen to such a state. His life was tightly grasped in the hands of Jiang Qin. If he wanted to kill him, he would disappear from the immortal world in an instant. Sun Lian floated in front of Hit and said in a low voice, "Hurry up and tell him everything you know. This kid's methods are very ruthless. Moreover, the sect master won't come to save us at all. As long as you tell him, you will have a chance to live." Could it be that the sect master will just watch as our subsects are destroyed in his hands? Hit clenched his teeth. He really couldn't accept this reality. Even a soul clone had the cultivation of a celestial immortal. The sect master's strength was at least above the 5th layer of the immortal king realm. But now, he was forced to such a state by a kid who was only at the 4th layer of the celestial immortal realm. It really couldn't understand why the sect master wouldn't take action. Let me tell you, if you want to die, don't drag me along. After being trapped in the jade bottle for so long, Sun Lian gradually figured it out. He was going to tell Jiangchen everything he knew in exchange for a chance to live. After being abandoned by the Great Elder, they could only rely on themselves to survive. Jiangchen didn't continue to speak. He just looked at them quietly. Including Sun Lian, there were still things he didn't know about these two people. If he could get it, he might be able to find new clues about the sect master and Hikari. I'll tell you. Hit hesitated for a moment. Looking at Sun Lian's miserable appearance, he was still afraid. The sect master he had always respected didn't take action when the Black Cloud sect was destroyed, and their Hit family's change had occurred for several days. But they still didn't sense the sect master's aura. His heart gradually sank, realizing that the sect master seemed to have abandoned them. Okay, tell me, Jiangchen said, shrugging his shoulders. Actually, I don't know much about the situation. When the sect master appeared in our Hit family, he had a different appearance every time. He used his soul clone to control the movements of these bodies. This time, it seemed to be Ku Yu, the young master of the eastern region's Tianlang Mountain. Hit thought for a moment and said, Ku Yu. The corners of Jiang Chen's mouth curled up into a smile. This surprised him, but at the same time, he didn't feel too surprised. Tianlang Mountain had long been ruined by the sect master of the Black Cloud sect. The experts in the sect were either dead or injured. Now, even the young master was possessed by the sect master of the Black Cloud sect. This sect that had stood in the eastern region for thousands of years was declared to be destroyed. Yes, that's indeed the case. When the sect master arrived, he brought your 2 disciples and asked me to send someone to lock them up. He also seemed to be particularly interested in the little girl. He continued, interested in Hikari? Jiang Chun frowned slightly. Over the past 1,000 years, the sect master seems to have been looking for someone. The younger generation of our Hit family would be injected with dark immortal power, and then he would select some suitable ones to take away. The unsuitable ones would become his puppets. Hit nodded. Chapter 17:28. What else? Jiangchen knew a little about this situation before, but it was not so clear. He seems to have taken these people away to accomplish something, as if he has a plan. However, I don't know anything more than that. After saying that, Hit shook his head. He looked firmly at Jiangchen. Saying these words meant that he had betrayed the great sect master. He did not ask for Jiangchen's protection. He only wanted to escape from here quickly to avoid being targeted by the great sect master and ending up in a fate worse than death. What about you? Jiangchen looked sideways at Sun Lian. Brother Jiangchen, we know almost the same situation. We don't know anything else. Sun Lian said with a bitter face. He felt like a tool. When Jiangchen needed him, he would appear. When he did not need him, he would not be kept in a jade bottle. As far as I know, the Black Sect has 10 subsects in the Northern Territory and the Eastern Territory, right? Jiangchen touched his chin and asked in a low voice. We vaguely know this, but I only know 4, which includes the Black Cloud sect. Hit said without hesitation. Anyway, he had already said what he could not say before. The other 2 are... Hearing this, Jiangchen suddenly became interested. It was not realistic to get all the sects, but even if he only got 2, he could continue to investigate. Corpse Cliff and Love Valley. Hit didn't even think about it, and immediately spoke. Love Valley. Jiangchen trembled, and even his eyes had some fluctuations. Seeing Jiangchen's performance, Sun Lian and Hit looked at each other and swallowed their saliva at the same time. This Corpse Cliff is a new sect in the last few thousand years, right? Jiangchen's right hand trembled slightly as he pressed it against his chest. Yes, this sect is very insidious. Although it is in the east of the Eastern Territory, it is said that they collect the corpses of true immortals and immortal venerables at a high price. Hit carefully recalled the situation of this sect. Collect corpses? Jiangchen was a little surprised. This was the first time he had heard of such a strange sect. Yes, but there are very few people who know about this sect. Although they collect corpses, there are also specialized people who do it. Similarly, there are also sects who collect corpses and send them to Corpse Cliff in order to earn some benefits. Hit nodded and said, "What about Love Valley?" Speaking of this sect, Jiang Chen's entire aura softened. There is something strange about Love Valley. This sect has been standing in the immortal plane for a very long time. It is said that the entire sect is made up of female disciples. It is a sect that does not compete with other forces. Strangely enough, during a sect meeting 600 years ago, I happened to sense the aura of a disciple from the sect. It is somewhat similar to the aura of the sect master. At this point, Hit also felt a little strange. "All right, I'll keep that in mind." Jiang Chun waved his hand and interrupted him. "I've already told you everything I know. Please let us go. No matter what happens in the future, we won't appear before you again, and we won't attack the people around you." Hit walked up to Jiang Chun and knelt down on one knee. He cupped his hands and spoke respectfully. "That's right, big brother Jiang Chun." Sun Lien also begged. "Of course, I can let you live, but not now." Jiang Chun pondered for a while. Then his eyes suddenly became fierce. He leaped forward, grabbed its neck, and squeezed hard. Crack! The sound of bones breaking rang out. Hit's eyes were filled with horror, but he did not have the chance to struggle. His body fell limply to the ground. "Why did you take my life?" A moment later, Hit's soul floated out of his body. He was very agitated. "When the time comes to let you go, I will naturally let you go." Jiang Chun did not explain. Instead, he waved his hand and sucked the two souls into the jade bottle. Then he sealed the bottle with pure immortal power. "Sect Master Sun Lien, I saw that you were a little lonely inside, so I specially found a companion for you. You must remember my kindness." Patting the bottle, Jiang Chun casually threw it into his storage ring and then dispersed the enchantment. When the enchantment disappeared, those experts immediately rushed up. "Young master, you killed him?" Looking at Hit lying on the ground, several people were very surprised. "Drag him out and find a place to bury him," Jiang Chun casually said. Watching them carry Hit's body out, Jiang Chun left the dungeon with his hands behind his back and returned to Bai Fengyu's room. Bai Fengyu also saw that Jiang Chun's mood was a little strange, so she sat quietly and did not speak. Sitting in front of the bed, Jiang Chun recalled the past. When he was still in the immortal world, he met her by chance. After lingering for a while because of some conflicts, she left. He heard that after leaving, she founded a sect called Love Despair Valley in the Snow Mountain domain of the Northern Domain. Jiang Chun had never been there before. Originally, with the encounter, he gradually forgot the past, but he did not expect to mention it again. It's just that the only thing Jiang Chun could not understand was how that pure and lovely girl got involved with such a sinister and vicious sect. Even when he thought of this, Jiang Chun clearly felt a burst of pain in his chest. "What's wrong?" Seeing Jiang Chun did not speak for a long time, Bai Fengyu stepped forward and leaned on Jiang Chun's back. "Nothing. I just got some clues and sorted them out." Jiang Chun softened, took Bai Fengyu's palm, and put it on his face. Jiang Chun did not intend to tell her about this situation. Finding Hikari is very important, but it's more important to pay attention to your safety. Bai Fengyu's voice was soft. Since last night, her attitude toward Jiang Chun had undergone a tremendous change. Although she had long regarded herself as Jiang Chun's woman, but after all, they were nameless before. But now, she had taken a step forward. "And I know." Jiang Chun nodded gently, turned around, and hugged Bai Fengyu in his arms. After he got rid of Hit, the elders, led by Shiyun, were completely relieved. They all knew that Hit was the great sect master's man, and now that Hit was dead, the great sect master was still nowhere to be seen. There was no intention of revenge. Following behind Jiang Chun was a very correct decision, and they did not have to worry about their lives in the future. Soon, Shiyun dealt with all the abnormal people in the family. Only those who were loyal to the family were left. In this way, the Citra family would no longer have any relationship with the Black Sect, and they would be completely separated from the Sea of Bitterness. After the change in the Citra family, those experts who were released from the dungeon by Jiang Chun could not bear it anymore. They gathered together and came in front of Jiang Chun. Chapter 17:29. Set up our own sect. Hearing their words, Jiang Chun was stunned. This was something he had never considered. He already had too many identities, and each force was well known in the immortal world. There was no need for him to set up his own sect. That's right. Young master, think about it. You already have the Divine Secret Pavilion and the Immortal Mountain overseas. Why don't you combine them and set up a new sect? I don't think there are many forces in the immortal world that can fight against us. The person standing at the front said. Jiang Chun knew him. His name was Niu Zhuang. This person's force was around the second layer golden immortal realm. Hundreds of years ago, he mistakenly broke into the Citra family and injured the son of an elder. That was why he was imprisoned in the dungeon. Yes, young master, Brother Niu is right. Our current strength is enough to set up our own sect. The other 10 or so experts also echoed. Let's stop here. I don't have any thoughts of setting up a sect for the time being. It won't be too late to implement it when I have one in the future. As for you, after I leave, stay in the Citra family obediently. Don't have any other ideas. Jiang Chun frowned slightly and stood up. He would not let these people force him to do anything. They were experts, but in fact, they were just a motley crew. The only reason Jiang Chun had taken them in was that he wanted to intimidate the Citra clansmen. However, now that he had taken the clan as his subordinates, this group of people was certainly useless. Young master, where are you going? Niu Zhuang stepped forward and asked. Where I go has nothing to do with you. Remember, if you have something to do, go to Kunlun Immortal Mountain. If I'm not there, just tell any mountain lord and they will inform me. After Jiang Chun said this, he lifted his leg and walked out of the hall. Bai Feng Yu followed closely by his side, while Hua Fu and Jiang Yuan followed behind him. After Jiang Chun left, Niu Zhuang and the other sighed heavily when they saw his back view walk to the family gate. When they escaped from the dungeon, the only thing they wanted was for Jiang Chun to establish a new sect. That way, they would be able to stand on equal footing with the Citra family. But now, Jiang Chun had left them behind, and they were still living here. This reminded them of their lives in the dungeon from time to time. Of course, compared to them, Shiyun and the others did not have such thoughts. After leaving the Hydra clan, Jiang Chun wasted no time and immediately rushed in the direction of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. They had been here for around 10 days, and Jiang Chun and the other mountain lords were still investigating Bai Feng Yu and Hikari. Jiang Chun wanted to tell them about the situation here and asked them about the corpse cliff. Before dark, Jiang Chun brought the three of them back to the mountain gate. As soon as he entered, he saw many disciples hurrying in and out. Some of them greeted Jiang Chun when they saw him, while others looked at him with disdain. It was as if they felt that it was unfair for them to be so busy because of Jiang Chun. Of course, most of them directly ignored the four of them. As soon as he ascended the sixth mountain, Jiang Chun saw a white figure standing on the mountain peak. The moment Jiang Chun discovered it, the figure suddenly disappeared and then rushed in front of Jiang Chun. Little junior brother, you disappeared for so long in the blink of an eye, and didn't even tell eldest senior brother. Isn't that a bit too much? Bai Xiaoyan put her hands on her hips, but after seeing Jiang Chun and Bai Feng Yu almost hugging each other, a smile appeared on her face. Are you two? I've inquired about a lot of things this time. I'll have to trouble eldest senior brother to invite Mountain Lord Wei Yu and the first Mountain Lord over. Jiang Chun cleared his throat. He really could not say such words. Okay, I'll call them. When it came to serious matters, Bai Xiaoyan put away her gossipy expression and immediately rushed to the sixth mountain. In the main hall on the peak of the ninth mountain, after a while, the first Mountain Lord and Wei Yu arrived. Xin Yu and Qing Mu walked in with haggard faces. Seeing the cute little people in such a state, Jiang Chun could not bear to see them in such a state. He knew that they were working hard for him. Where have you been? Seeing Jiang Chun enter, Xin Yu seemed to blame him. The man left without saying a word, and he left for such a long time. Although she knew that it was definitely for Bai Feng Yu, she still felt a little jealous. She did not want to see Jiang Chun treating other women so seriously. I went to the Citra family. Jiangchen gently placed his hand on her shoulder. However, after seeing Bai Fengyu's sharp eyes, he cleared his throat and put his hand down. First Mountain Lord Wei Yu, I've already inquired about the situation of the Citra family. Fengyu has also been rescued. Unfortunately, Hikari was taken away by the Black sect master. There's no news about her until now. Looking at the people sitting in the hall, Jiangchen took a deep breath and said loudly, "Don't worry. Sure enough, it's this family's problem. During your absence, all the people we sent out pointed to them." The First Mountain Lord sneered and stood up. "Everyone, we've already dealt with the Black Cloud sect. Now that the Citra family has appeared, I think it's time for us to take action. This time, there's no need to make a big fuss. The three of us will go together and teach them a lesson." "I'll go too." After the First Mountain Lord's voice fell, Bai Xiaoyan quickly said. Hikari was the first person to call him martial uncle. He did not want to lose a cute martial niece like this. "Wait, the Citra family has surrendered to me. They're now my subordinate force." Seeing this, Jiang Chun hurriedly made things clear. He was afraid that if he was late, the four of them would rush out and disappear without a trace. "You're interested in this kind of subsect of the Black Sect? Aren't you afraid that it will backfire on you?" Wei Yu looked sideways at Jiang Chun and sneered. "Mountain Lord Wei Yu, the Citra family is Hikari's family, and I'm her master. I don't want to destroy her family before rescuing her." Jiang Chun shrugged and said, "Oh, there's such a relationship?" Xin Yu tilted her head and asked, "Yes, the sovereign of the Black Sect is more complicated than we thought. He instilled the dark energy in these sub-schools and then selected suitable young people to take away. It seems that he has some purpose. Him taking away Hikari is probably related to his purpose." Jiang Chun sat next to Xin Yu and told her everything he knew. "Conspiracy?" The First Mountain Lord frowned. "It seems so." Jiang Chun nodded. He told her everything he knew about the situation he had inquired about. In the hall, everyone narrowed their eyes and listened. Chapter 1730. Everyone's expression gradually turned serious. Even Bai Xiaoyan, who had always been frivolous, had a serious expression on her face as she listened to Jiang Chen's introduction. What the Black Sect Master had done had already exceeded the three Mountain Lords' understanding of him. Moreover, from Jiang Chen's words, they could tell that this sect from another region seemed to be planning something big and had already started to take action. An expert from another region who is not weaker than the three immortal kings has been plotting for thousands of years. If we don't stop it in time, I'm afraid it will be extremely disadvantageous to the entire immortal world. The First Mountain Lord touched the armrest of the chair, took a deep breath, and said, "This has nothing to do with us. What we need to do is to rescue Hikari." Wei Yu spread out her hands. "Besides, it's not the first time the immortal world has been in turmoil. With his strength, he still doesn't have the ability to cause a huge storm in the immortal world. I'm afraid his plan is related to Hikari." Jiang Chen clenched his hands and said faintly. This was something that he had been thinking about ever since Hikari was kidnapped by the Black Sect Master again. If it wasn't for this, he really couldn't understand why the Black Sect Master didn't threaten him with Bai Fengyu in his hands. Instead, he took away a girl that he had just taken in. Could it be that the Citra family has some unknown past? Xin Yu placed her cold hand on the back of Jiang Chen's hand, trying to calm Jiang Chen down and restore his rationality. "This isn't important. What's important is why the Black Sect Master wants to take Hikari away. Is it purely to threaten you, or does he have other plans? But no matter what, since this person is from Kunlun Celestial Mountain, then as the Mountain Lords, we naturally can't sit by and do nothing. We have to think of a way to rescue her." The First Mountain Lord stood up, glanced at everyone, and said in a deep voice, "Thank you, little mother." Jiang Chun held Xin Yu's hand and immediately stood up, cupping his hands and saying to the First Mountain Lord. He knew that the First Mountain Lord had helped him because of his father, Wan Cheng. Otherwise, just by recruiting disciples with his identity as a disciple of Kunlun, Celestial Mountain, was already violating the sect's rules. It was even more impossible for him to help. When these words came out, everyone was stunned. Although Mystic Moon and Wei Yu knew about the relationship between the first Mountain Lord and Jiangchen, this was the first time they had heard him admit it in public. As for Bai Fengyu and Bai Xiaoyan, they were staring at Jiangchen, dumbfounded. It had never occurred to them that Jiangchen and the Lord of the First Mountain had such a relationship. However, after being struck dumb for a while, they came to themselves. If there was no relationship between them, how could the Lord of the First Mountain have rushed to Jiangchen's rescue several times when he was in trouble? However, compared to them, Jiang Yuan and Hua Fu looked like they were watching a good show. This kind of enjoyment of eating melons was probably not inferior to that of humans. Otherwise, he wouldn't have eavesdropped at the door of Bai Fengyu's room. Jiangchen, what nonsense are you talking about? The first mountain master's stern expression instantly turned gentle. His entire face was flushed red. However, his entire body seemed to have become lighter. The corners of his lips curled up uncontrollably. Cough, cough. Jiangchen, what are you going to do next? Are you going to stay in the Immortal Mountain and wait for the sect leader of the Black Sect to contact you? Or, Wei Yu coughed. She couldn't accept this kind of atmosphere. Originally, the 9 mountain lords were on equal footing. Who would have thought that Wan Cheng and Jiangchen would interfere? As a result, she and Mystic Moon had to address the first mountain lord as Granny. This kind of difference in status was really unacceptable. The eastern region's Corpse Cliff, or the northern region's Snow Mountain. Love Valley. Jiangchen took a deep breath and said truthfully, I know a little about the Love Valley. However, the Corpse Cliff is the most sinister sect in the entire eastern region. It's comparable to the outer region. If you go alone, with your current cultivation, you'll definitely be in danger. I'll send 2 experts to accompany you. The first mountain lord frowned and thought carefully. First mountain lord, you don't need to send experts. As long as I'm here, Jiangchen won't run into any danger. Before the first mountain lord finished speaking, Bai Xiaoyan took a step forward, cupped her hands, and spoke. We can also follow and protect you. Hua Fu and Jiang Yuan also stepped forward. Me too. Bai Fengyu looked at Jiangchen's back with determination. You'd better stay here obediently. Jiangchen turned and walked in front of her. He reached out and touched her long hair. He said softly, It wasn't easy for me to save you from the sect leader of the Black Sect. I won't let you be in danger again. What about me? I want to go with you. However, as soon as Jiangchen finished speaking, a childish voice came from outside. You're right. What are you doing here? Jiangchen frowned and asked helplessly. Go back and stay here obediently. Don't move around. What do you mean by making trouble? You didn't do what you promised me. You didn't bring Hikari back safely. Of course, I have to go with you this time. Otherwise, who knows if you'll try your best to save Hikari, or if you can't save her. Xiao Xiao snorted coldly. Miss, we've been trying our best to save Hikari. However, this matter isn't as simple as it seems. Please don't summon anyone and wait patiently. The first mountain lord looked at Xiao Xiao, who was standing at the door, and said softly. She didn't even know where Jiangchen brought these girls back from. His dissolute appearance was exactly the same as Wan Cheng. They were indeed father and son. Jiangchen, let me tell you, you'd better save Hikari quickly. Otherwise, I'll tell everyone about all the dirty things you've done. Xiao Xiao placed her hands on her hips and walked out of the main hall after she finished speaking. The crowd was dumbfounded, and they all looked toward Jiangchen. Everyone, please don't listen to her nonsense. I've always kept myself clean. Jiangchen quickly explained. Who would have thought that it would be better if Jiangchen didn't explain? Once he did, everyone looked at him in disbelief. Jiangchen didn't seem to be clean at all. All right, then White Immortal King, Jiangchen, and Hua Fu will follow Jiangchen. However, if you encounter any danger, remember to inform me immediately. I'll immediately send someone to help. The first mountain lord looked at Jiangchen for a while and said, All right, I'll remember. Jiangchen cupped his hands and turned around to leave the main hall. Behind him, the other 3 followed closely. Fengyu, you should go back and rest. With the protection of an immortal king and 2 immortal kings, Jiangchen won't be in any danger. After Jiangchen left, the first mountain lord sat back on his chair and said softly, By phone you nodded gently. If she only respected the first mountain lord before, now she didn't just respect him. She also felt a little familial affection. Chapter 1731. Even with Jiangchen's speed, it would take several days to travel from Kunlun Mountain to the eastern part of the eastern region. Originally, there was a wormhole connecting the eastern and northern regions, which made it only take 3 or 4 days for ordinary people to travel a distance that would take several months. With Jiangchen's heaven immortal cultivation, he could reach it in less than 2 hours. But nearly 1,000 years ago, the omnivorous insect clan, which was used to build wormholes and had the ability to travel through space, suddenly disappeared from the immortal realm. Since then, the wormholes connecting the various regions and continents had collapsed instantly, and they could no longer save time. 3 days had passed by the time they reached the eastern region. Looking at the desolate eastern region in front of him, Jiangchun sighed faintly. Although this was the territory of the eastern region, because it was too close to the outer region, there were almost no sects and no ordinary people living here. There were many forces like the Corpse Cliff, which seemed to belong to the sects of the eastern region, but were actually no different from the sects of the outer region. As far as I know, this sect is quite strange. Back then, when Master was still in the sect, he once had a conflict with the elders of this sect. The sect master of this sect is only at the first layer of the immortal monarch realm, but due to the problems with his cultivation method and immortal arts, even immortal kings would find it difficult to deal with him. Standing on the peak of a mountain, Bai Xiaoyan said indifferently with her hands behind her back, "Oh, a first-layer immortal monarch can fight immortal kings?" Jiang Chun was a little surprised. Bai Xiaoyan shook her head and explained, "It's not that they have the strength to fight immortal kings, but their methods are sinister and vicious. If you're not careful, you'll be infected with their poison or poisonous insects, which will be very troublesome. Let's go and see the Corpse Cliff." Jiang Chen grinned and rushed down the cliff. Corpse Cliff. Today was the day the sect recruited disciples from the eastern region. Many evil cultivators and members of small families were gathered here. These people couldn't enter the good sects, but they wanted to improve their strength, so they could only go to sects like the Corpse Cliff. Looking at the disciples gathered at the sect's entrance, Grand Elder Shircho of Corpse Cliff couldn't help but laugh. Looking at these people, he knew that the task given to them by the sect master was about to be completed. At that time, he would be able to leave the Corpse Cliff and enter the black door of the outer realm. 1,000 years ago, he had been there once. At that time, he was shocked by the strength of the Black Sect. "First Elder, we will be able to recruit close to 100 disciples this time. I estimate that there will be around 10 people that meet the sect master's requirements." A disciple of the Dark Corpse Cliff ran over to Shircho with a list of names and said, "Great sect master has already found a suitable girl. With another girl and 2 boys, we can achieve the plan that has been in place for thousands of years." Shircho took the list and looked at it roughly before throwing it aside. "Understood." The disciple nodded. "Go and take all of them away. Remember to make them cultivate our sect's cultivation method from tomorrow onwards. Let's try to find out who among them is suitable to become the person the great sect leader needs. Now that we've found one, we've saved ourselves some trouble." Shircho clasped his hands behind his back and said with satisfaction. Just as Shircho was about to turn around and leave, a voice sounded in the air. "Elder Shir, don't be in a hurry to recruit disciples. We have some things to ask you." In the open space, all the disciples raised their heads to look. 4 streams of light streaked across the sky and stood directly in front of these disciples. The aura of 1 immortal king and 2 immortal monarchs was vividly displayed. Some of the disciples with weaker cultivation base couldn't help but turn red under the pressure of this aura. They couldn't help but step back. Some of them even vomited blood and knelt on the ground. Jiang Chun. Looking at this group of people who suddenly appeared, Shircho's expression instantly froze. "Oh, Corpse Elder, do you know me?" Jiang Chun smiled and asked curiously. "Young master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Sect. When you just ascended to the immortal realm, I already knew." Shircho looked at Jiang Chun and said with a serious face, "However, The 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect has long ceased to exist, and your father is suppressed in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Now you're just an ordinary cultivator of the celestial immortal realm. How dare you come to our corpse cliff to make trouble? Unfortunately, I don't have any impression of your sect. Jiangchen stood with his hands behind his back and smiled faintly. Leave quickly. For the sake of your father, I'll forgive you for trespassing the sect. Otherwise, don't blame me for being unfavorable to you. Shi Chao's face darkened as he pointed at Jiangchen and scolded. Don't be so anxious. I came here today to inquire about some information from Elder Shi. Jiangchen smiled and continued. I don't know if Elder Shi has heard of the Black Sect in the outer area. If you have, can you tell me about the situation of this sect? As soon as these words came out, Shi Chao's whole body trembled. The matter of the Black Sect was strictly confidential in their sect. Only the elders and a few disciples in the sect knew about it. But now Jiangchen had just arrived here and directly said it out loud, making the confidential matter known to everyone. Once the great master blamed him, he simply could not bear the responsibility. Jiangchen, kid, don't talk nonsense in my sect. Shi Chou pointed at Jiangchen and shouted, What's the matter? Let's talk in the main hall. Okay. With Bai Xiaoyun and the others here, Jiangchen did not put the corpse cliff in his eyes. What's more, now that the sect master of the Black Sect had kidnapped Hikari, Jiangchen did not think so much. What he was thinking about was how to rescue Hikari. In the main hall, Shi Chou looked at Jiangchen with a gloomy face. When he came in, he had already asked some people in the sect to ambush outside the main hall. But after all, Jiangchen's current status was not low, and he had the support of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain and the outer area Immortal Mountain. Before he knew why Jiangchen was here, he did not dare to act rashly. Jiangchen, although you have now ascended to the immortal world, the current immortal world is very different from before. Why did you come to our corpse cliff instead of being a disciple in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain? When your father was suppressed by the 3 immortal kings, it had nothing to do with our sect. Shi Chou cleared his throat and looked at Jiangchen and said, If your corpse cliff was also involved, then you wouldn't have the chance to sit in front of me and talk to me now. Jiangchen crossed his legs and sneered. You! Shi Chou was choked by Jiangchen. His words were stuck in his throat, and he could not speak. It was as if his throat was blocked by something, or as if his chest had been punched hard, making it difficult for Shi Chou to say a complete sentence. Chapter 1732. As far as I know, your corpse cliff should be a subsect of the Black Sect. Tell me everything you know about the sect master of the Black Sect, and I'll let your corpse cliff go. Otherwise, you'll have the same fate as the Black Cloud sect. Jiangchen didn't waste his breath and went straight to the point, looking at him and threatening in a low voice. After all this time, it turns out that the Black Cloud sect and the Citra family were destroyed by you, brat? Shi Chou narrowed his eyes. Although he was in the eastern part of the eastern domain and didn't know about the other regions of the immortal world, he still got the news about the destruction of the subsects. After hearing Jiangchen's words, he gradually understood. The Black Cloud sect has been destroyed, and the Citra family has taken refuge with me. Jiangchen sneered. Elder Shi, I hope you can be sensible and save your corpse cliff so that I can save some trouble. Don't think of our corpse cliff as the Black Cloud sect and the Citra family. Since you dare to make trouble in our sect today, I'll make sure you never return. For the sake of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Monarch, leave quickly. Shi Chou still didn't want to provoke Jiangchen. Although the 10,000 Creations Immortal School had been destroyed and the 10,000 Creations Immortal School was suppressed in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, it was still a famous sect in the immortal realm, and it had many subsects. If the young master Jiangchen waved his hand, the corpse dark cliff might not be able to deal with him. Not to mention that Wan Cheng was only suppressed and not killed. It took 3 immortal kings to defeat him. If he escaped from the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, wouldn't they be in big trouble? Old thing, we don't have time to talk nonsense with you. Hurry up and tell us the situation of your sect master, or we'll overturn your sect today. Bai Xiaoyan stepped forward and pointed at Shi Chao's nose and cursed. At the same time, her immortal king aura was revealed again. In just a moment, the roof of the hall was overturned. Looking at the empty space above his head, Cho clenched his teeth, and even his lips were trembling. Seeing that the roof of the hall was about to be torn apart, Jiang Yuan didn't hesitate to revert to his true form. Cut the crap, hurry up and tell me. The immortal ape's huge body swelled up, causing the originally empty hall to instantly become crowded. Its huge body stood in front of Cho, presenting a very powerful and oppressive aura. Jiangchen, I've tolerated you time and time again, but you don't know when to stop. Instead, you keep pushing me. Do you really think our corpse cliff is a third-rate sect? Cho finally couldn't take it anymore. He suddenly stood up from his chair, and a foul chi burst out from his body. Seeing this, Jiang Chen's sneer deepened. This kind of momentum was exactly the same as the Black Sect Master. 6 great guardians, purge the intruders. Chao's entire body was shrouded in the foul chi. His cultivation had climbed from immortal venerable to half-step immortal monarch. With his command, the aura of 6 Dao immortal venerables appeared in Jiang Chen's perception. Then, a gray light flashed, and 6 immortal venerables in gray robes and masks appeared outside the hall. The aura of this group of people faintly joined together, enveloping the entire hall. Good timing. I haven't met a suitable opponent for a long time. Jiang Yuan clenched his fist and smashed it in front of him. Bang! There was a loud noise. The hall was directly smashed into pieces. Some of the broken buildings fell down the cliff beside the sect. After smashing a hole, Jiang Yuan directly stepped out and entered the joint aura of the immortal venerables. After he entered, his figure was immediately locked on. The 6 immortal venerables didn't hold back and launched a barrage of attacks at Jiang Yuan. White Immortal King, you protect the young master. I'll go and help. Huafu paid attention to the situation outside and realized that with Jiang Yuan's current cultivation, it would be difficult for him to withstand the attacks of 6 immortal venerables at the same time. After saying this, Huafu's back transformed into a pair of colorful phoenix wings and flew out of the hall. In the blink of an eye, she stood side by side with Jiang Yuan and faced those immortal venerables together. It seems that this corpse cliff is stronger than we thought. Bai Xiaoyun's entire body was shrouded in white immortal power, protecting Jiangchen. Could it be that there are immortal kings? Jiangchen asked with a smile. It's hard to say. Previously, there were several quasi-immortal kings overseeing Tianlang Mountain in the eastern region. Bai Xiaoyun shook her head and said, a cultivator who has just stepped into the immortal king realm. Do you really think you could protect Jiangchen by yourself? Cho walked to the middle of the hall and pointed at Bai Xiaoyun. As soon as he finished speaking, a few more immortal cultivators appeared. Then, 3 immortal monarch old men appeared out of thin air. When their auras were released, together with Cho, their cultivation instantly climbed to the 5th level immortal monarch realm. Be careful. If you're not their match, just escape from here. Bai Xiaoyun didn't expect that there would be so many experts hidden in such a nameless sect like Corpse Cliff. Okay. Jiangchen reached out and pressed down, and a slender white and black sword was inserted into the ground. Get rid of them in the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Looking at the 3 elders standing beside him, Cho said in a low voice. In order to deal with an immortal king like Bai Xiaoyun, they used the extremely turbid formation that their sect master had given them last time. It could greatly increase the strength of the 4 of them in a short period of time. However, the effectiveness was only about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. After the formation dissipated, the 4 of them would enter an extremely weak state and would need several days or even months to recover. If they couldn't get rid of Bai Xiaoyun in the time the formation took effect, then they would be dead. After instructing Jiangchen, Bai Xiaoyun directly held her white sword and rushed into their formation. Every time he swung his sword, he would slice apart the foul chi in the formation, but it would quickly fill up again. Not long after, Bai Xiaoyun was completely swallowed up. Apart from the fluctuations that came from the formation, she could not sense anything else. Phew! Jiangchen exhaled a mouthful of turbid chi. Facing these immortal venerables, Jiangchen didn't feel much pressure. However, just as this thought appeared in his mind, Jiangchen felt that he had been too careless. When this group of people released their immortal power, they connected with each other, and their cultivation climbed to the half-step immortal monarch realm. Are you Siamese twins? Jiang Qin's eyes drooped. When immortal venerables joined forces, they could fight with Huafu and Jiang Yuan, who were immortal monarchs. When immortal monarchs joined forces, they could fight with immortal king by Xiaoyan. These fake experts in front of him, who were only immortal venerables, were actually immortal venerables. This is the wonder of our corpse cliffs cultivation method. With your fourth layer heaven immortal cultivation, quickly surrender and don't make any useless struggles. The few of them surrounded Jiang Chun in the blink of an eye. Chapter 1733. What a headache! Jiang Chun rubbed his forehead. It was indeed difficult to deal with the combination of these skills. Moreover, each of them was connected. No matter who was hit, the other person would be able to react in time and counterattack. While they were speaking, a few people dashed over in an instant. They surrounded Jiang Chun from all directions and started to attack him. Jiang Chun dared not let his guard down in the face of several divine immortals. He had already condensed light and dark immortal force in the moment of the fight. This kid has some skills. Quickly get rid of him. They were shocked when they saw this. Immediately, they took out their special skills and attacked Jiang Chun together. Jiang Chun, who was in the middle of the formation, closed his eyes. The black and white long sword in his hand kept trembling. Waves of pure energy were gradually infused into the sword from his palm. When the attacks were about to reach him, Jiang Chun suddenly opened his eyes and slashed down with the long sword. Sword of Glory! Jiang Chun opened his mouth slightly. Accompanied by a deep voice, a sword chi of several colors erupted from the sword. With his body as the center, it quickly spread in all directions. This was a move that Jiang Chun had comprehended after comprehending the immortal technique of the Thousand Opportunities Emperor in seclusion. With the fusion technique as the main point and the sword as the carrier, the 7 different types of immortal chi gathered together to display a powerful sword technique. It was named Glory. It was a name for returning to the immortal world, restoring the glory of the 10,000 Mounts immortal sect and himself. The biting cold sword chi spread rapidly, as if it was going to cut through the space. Jiang Chun did not want to show this trump card, but he was helpless that by Xiaoyan and Jiang Yuan could not protect him now. In the face of these immortal venerables, if he continued to hide it, he might really die here today. After going through so many difficulties and dangers to return to the immortal world, he did not want to start from scratch again. Be careful. When the sword chi was raging, they immediately sensed that something was wrong. This brat is only at the 4th level of the heaven immortal realm. How can he cast such a powerful immortal art? They couldn't help but ask as they formed shields with their immortal energy. In their opinion, this level of celestial technique could only be executed by a celestial lord at the very least. Boom! The 7-colored sword chi instantly hit the shield. The defense built by immortal venerables was torn apart almost instantly. Before they could defend themselves, the sword chi had already slashed across their bodies. Poochie! Several people simultaneously spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground one after another. A bunch of dogs who won't give up until they see the coffin. Holding his long sword, Jiang Chun walked forward directly. In the distance, the disciples who had just been recruited by the corpse cliff were all scared out of their wits when they witnessed this scene. A few immortal venerables endured the pain and discomfort in their bodies and struggled to stand up, preparing to counterattack. However, they also knew that they were no match for Jiang Chun after being injured. They could only blame Jiang Chun for being too strange. In their understanding, how could a celestial immortal display such a powerful celestial technique? Since they had already climbed to the immortal venerable realm, they should be able to kill a celestial immortal with ease. Little bastard, I didn't want to attack you because you gave me a disciple as compensation. But I didn't expect you to come to me again and again. I have no choice but to kill you. In a dark corner of the dark corpse cliff, a salesman's figure appeared from the darkness. He looked at Jiang Chun and sneered. Then his figure instantly disappeared. At the same time, a wave of fluctuation suddenly came from where Jiang Chun was. Sensing something strange, Jiang Chun subconsciously turned his head. However, with a wave of his hand, a palm strike landed on his chest. Kuyu! Feeling the pain, Jiang Chun clenched his teeth and looked up. What he saw was a familiar face. But after a moment, Jiang Chun reacted. The person in front of him was not Kuyu, but a sole doppelganger of the sect master of the Black Sect. Jiang Chun, I'll let you go, but you still dare to take the initiative to come to my subsect to cause trouble. Do you want to die? The sect master of the Black Sect sneered. As soon as his voice fell, the immortal force that had been injected into Jiang Chun's body suddenly exploded. Puff! Jiang Chun spat out a mouthful of blood and knelt on the ground with one knee. The halo of immortal force around him and the seven-colored sword in his hand instantly dissipated. Hand over Hikari. Covering his chest, Jiang Chun looked up at him and squeezed out the words from between his teeth. She has already become my apprentice. The sect master of the Black Sect grabbed Jiang Chun's collar and said, Boy, when my plan is perfected, I still need your soul as a bargaining chip. Since you helped me find Hikari, I can let you live freely for a while. Otherwise, I will take away your soul now and make you disappear from the immortal realm. If you have the ability, kill me now. Jiang Chun suddenly sneered. Although the strength of his soul was not limited by the Pact of Two Realms and the Millennium Pact, Bai Xianling would definitely appear when his life was in danger. Otherwise, he would not be able to explain to his mother. Do you think I don't dare? The sect master of the Black Sect stretched out his hand, which was full of filthy aura. If you dare to hurt him, no matter where you escape, the divine secret pavilion will chase you to the ends of the earth. In the hall, there was a sudden loud noise, and Bai Xiaoyan rushed out with a long sword on his back. The long sword was separated from him, and under the control of his mind, the long sword stabbed toward the sect master of the Black Sect, while he rushed toward Jiang Chun. In the face of the attack of the immortal king, the sect master of the Black Sect did not dare to confront it with his soul. He had to let go of Jiang Chun's collar and quickly retreat. At the same time, he smiled at Jiang Chun and disappeared in the black fog. Bai Xiaoyan rushed to Jiang Chun and helped him up from the ground. I didn't expect the headmaster of the Black School to show up in front of me all of a sudden. I was caught off guard. Besides, I'm not a match for him at all, Jiang Chun said with a sigh, smiling bitterly. How is your body? Bai Xiaoyan pressed on Jiang Chun's chest and felt the condition of his body. Let Jiang Yuan and Hua Fu retreat first. I am afraid that if we continue to stay here, the sect master of the Black Sect may attack again. Jiang Chun looked around and said in a low voice, When we were dealing with the Black Cloud sect and the Citra family, he did not appear. It seems that this corpse cliff is very important to him. Hua Fu, Jiang Yuan, retreat. Bai Xiaoyan didn't waste her breath. She shouted at the two of them, then helped Jiang Chun fly out of there. The urgent matter now was not to investigate the whereabouts of Hikari or inquire about the sect master of the Black Sect, but to get Jiang Chun out of danger first. Chapter 1734. After leaving the corpse cliff, Bai Xiaoyan didn't stop. Instead, she took Jiang Chun to the Qinna sect. She knew that now that the Black Sect Master had appeared, she couldn't continue to attack Shircho and the others for a short time. If she returned to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain in the northern region, the mountain lords would be worried, so the best place to go was Elder Su Qian. Half an hour later, the three of them rushed to the gate of the Qinna sect with Jiang Chun. Looking at the unconscious young master being supported by Bai Xiaoyan, Hua Fu was still very worried. How could he be injured? The Black Sect Master has made a move. Bai Xiaoyan took a deep breath. As soon as she felt the dark aura, she was ready to help Jiang Chun. Unfortunately, she was delayed by Shircho and the other elders of the Corpse Cliff, so she didn't rush over immediately. Bai Xiaoyan felt a little scared when she thought about it. If she was a little later, her junior brother would have lost his life. After entering the Qinna sect, someone saw Jiang Chun and immediately went to inform Elder Su Qian. After a while, Su Qian flashed out of the main hall. When he heard that Jiang Chun had arrived, he was very happy. However, when he saw Bai Xiaoyan supporting the unconscious young man, his aura instantly became gloomy. The clear sky above the sect suddenly became dark and gloomy. Soon, dark clouds gathered and thunder rumbled. Raindrops the size of beans fell from the sky. What's going on? Su Qian took a deep breath, stared at the unconscious Jiang Chun, and asked in a low voice. Elder Su Qian, it's a long story. Let's talk about it after we go in. Bai Xiaoyan wiped the rain on her face and said helplessly. In the main hall, Su Qian asked all the disciples and deacons to leave. He stretched out his hand and pressed in the air. In the middle of the main hall, a cold stone platform rose. Carry him up there. Su Qian sighed. He didn't know why Jiang Chun had become like this. During his time in the eastern region, whether it was facing Mount Tianlang or those opponents in the immortal emperor's tomb, even if the opponents were immortal lords or even immortal kings, Jiang Chun was still able to escape by luck. Bai Xiaoyan nodded and carefully helped Jiang Chun onto the stone platform. The moment Jiang Chun laid down, a wisp of pale green light immediately wrapped around him, slowly healing the injuries on his body. White Immortal King, Immortal Monarch, can you tell me about Jiang Chun's situation now? Su Qian took a deep breath. Although he was asking questions, the thought of keeping Jiang Chun in the Thousand Harmonies sect sprouted in his heart. At the thought of the relationship between Jiang Chun and Su Qian, Bai Xiaoyan didn't hide anything from him. She told him about the fight between the headmaster of the Dark Corpse Cliff and the headmaster of the Black School. She also told him everything she had learned about the Black School. Bai Xiaoyan knew. For an expert like Great Elder Su Qian, whose cultivation was similar to her master's, there must be a huge power hidden behind him. It was definitely not as simple as it seemed on the surface. It's just as I guessed. Su Qian gradually calmed down and looked at Jiang Chun, who was lying on the stone platform. I just didn't expect that the young master of Mount Tianlang would become the carrier of his soul clone. Great Elder Su Qian, do you have any medicinal pills here that can help Jiang Chun recover? Bai Xiaoyan rubbed her hands and asked awkwardly. Based on the previous poor state of the Divine Secret Pavilion, he didn't have any good medicinal pills on him. Although he was rich now, it was too late to buy any medicinal pills at this time. You're an immortal king. Don't you have any medicinal pills on you? Su Qian raised his head and glanced at Bai Xiaoyan, as if he didn't believe her. Ahem, I really don't. Bai Xiaoyan scratched her head and said, Elder, please save Jiang Chun. As for how many immortal jades you can sell your medicinal pills for, we'll pay you back in full when the time comes. Hua Fu didn't know the relationship between Jiang Chun and Su Qian. She cupped her hands towards Su Qian. She was usually arrogant, but now there was a trace of pleading in her tone. Haha, I'm not asking you to pay me back. Su Yundian, don't watch from outside. Come in and talk. Su Qian was amused by Hua Fu's words. He waved his hand, then looked towards the direction of the main hall's door and shouted. Creak! As soon as he finished speaking, the door was pushed open. A thin old man in tattered clothes and holding a wine pot in his hand walked in unsteadily. After walking to the side of the stone platform, he stopped and looked at Jiang Chun and asked, This is the 10,000 vehicle Immortal Lord's son? Yes. Su Qian nodded and then introduced him to Bai Xiaoyan. This is our Thousand Harmonies sect's second elder, Su Yundian. When you were in the sect, he just happened to be out traveling. He just came back a while ago. Greetings, second elder. Bai Xiaoyan cupped her hands and said, White Immortal King, you can't do this. Su Yundian was so scared that he took 2 steps back. He quickly stepped forward and opened up Bai Xiaoyan's clenched fists. You are an immortal king, and I am just an ordinary immortal lord. If I let you bow to me, wouldn't my life be shortened? 2 elders, can we catch up later? Jiang Chun is still lying down. Bai Xiaoyan pointed at Jiang Chun, who was lying on the stone platform, and said anxiously, Old thing, take out your pill. Su Qian crossed his arms and said, If I knew this would happen, I would have wandered for a few more years and not come back. Su Yunjian took out a gray bottle from his tattered clothes. He poured out a pill that emitted a stench and directly stuffed it into Jiang Chen's mouth. Senior, there's no problem with this pill, right? Bai Xiaoyan's heart trembled when she smelled this rotten smell. Are you questioning my alchemy skills? Su Yundian looked at her and frowned. Of course not, of course not. Bai Xiaoyan quickly waved her hand. She believed that with great Elder Su Qian here, Jiang Chun would definitely not be in any danger. Su Yundian sat on the stone platform and said after taking Jiang Chen's pulse, "This kid's internal organs have suffered quite a bit of damage. Even his meridians are damaged. I think he won't be able to leave in a short period of time. The three of you should stay in the guest room. After this kid recovers, you can leave." Okay. Bai Xiaoyan and the other two nodded in agreement. Under Su Qian's arrangement, they followed the disciples of the Thousand Harmonies sect and left the main hall. The moment the door was closed, Su Yundian's carefree appearance disappeared. Then he bent down in front of Jiang Chun and carefully examined him. "You old thing, I've already seen Jiang Chen's situation. There is no danger to his life." Seeing his anxious look, Su Qian couldn't help but laugh. "I really didn't expect that the son of the Thousand Harmony immortal monarch would now become the young master of the Tianji sect. The changes in fate in this world are really wonderful." Su Yundian sighed. Chapter 1735. Okay, don't talk nonsense. What news did you find out this time? Su Qian waved his hand and asked in a deep voice. "It's the same as before. I didn't find anything. Maybe we're the only ones left in the sect." When it came to business, Su Yundian's mood instantly fell. But the sect ruins have appeared, and Jiang Chun has also been recognized by the sect master. Even if we're the only ones left, the sect's revival will certainly be hopeful. Do you think it's possible to restore Tianji's sect to the original top sect of the immortal realm with just us? Su Qian sighed and said, "It's a little difficult, but it's not impossible. Big brother, the sect has been destroyed for tens of thousands of years. I would go to the immortal realm every 2 years to inquire about it, but I couldn't get any news at all. Maybe except for our 2 sects, the other brothers were all killed in the battle." Su Yundian raised the wine pot in his hand and drank a big mouthful. "You go back and rest. I'll sit here for a while." Su Qian shook his head and sat on the steps. Qinna sect was a subsect of Tianji sect, but only a few people knew this news. When He Tiandi led his followers and disciples to fight Qinji Emperor, Qinna sect didn't even get the news. When the news of Tianji sect's destruction came out, Qinna sect master Su Rui took Su Qian and Su Yundian and rushed over. Only a mess was left. After the destruction of Tianji sect, the sect master Su Rui did not come out. Qinna sect was handed over to the 2 brothers Su Qian and Su Yundian. Although the tomb of Tianji sect appeared once every 500 years, it was hidden very well. If Su Qian didn't spread the news, I'm afraid not many people would know. The reason why Su Qian did this was because he met Jiang Chun. He knew the relationship between Qinji Emperor and that woman, and Jiang Chun was the young master of Wanqing Immortal Sect, the son of that woman. So he pretended not to know anything and took Jiang Chun into the tomb. Jiang Chun did not let him down. He got the recognition of Qinji Emperor and became the young master of Tianji sect. The revival of the Qinji zone is all on you. Su Qian stood up and walked to Jiang Chun. He said slowly, "Back then, Monarch Qianji sacrificed the entire sect to protect your mother. Now, it's time for you to pay for your mother's debt." After muttering for a while, Su Qian left with his hands behind his back. What he needed to do at the moment was to stay beside Jiang Chun and watch him quietly, to see how far this young lord could go without his help. As for Hua Fu and Jiang Yuan, they were only the spirit beasts of Emperor Qinji. They didn't know about the existence of the Thousand Harmony School and had never seen him before. After an unknown period of time, Jiang Chun slowly woke up on the stone platform. Jiang Chun raised his head and looked at the green radiance around him. Then he saw the familiar palace. It was only then that Jiang Chun realized where he was. Saint Healing Technique. Jiang Chun's fingers moved slightly. His immortal energy also condensed into a green light and healed the injuries in his body. A moment later, the door of the hall was pushed open. Su Qian walked in with his hands behind his back. He smiled and asked, "Little friend Jiang Chun, You've been unconscious for 16 days. If you didn't wake up, this old man would think that the best pills in the sect had lost their effect. Great Elder Su, Jiangchen got down from the stone platform and cupped his hands. How do you feel? Su Qian smiled. Not bad, I've recovered a bit. Great Elder Su, how did I get to Qinji's sect? Jiangchen patted his head. He remembered that he fainted after leaving the corpse cliff. He didn't know how long had passed. White Immortal King sent you here. I've heard about what happened to you during this time. Su Qian sat on a chair and said slowly, You brat, you've encountered so much trouble, and you didn't even tell me. I didn't expect the sect master of the Black Sect to suddenly appear. Jiangchen smiled awkwardly. But I can see that the corpse cliff is more important to him than the Hydra family and the Black Cloud sect. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suddenly appeared and attacked me. Su Qian nodded and said to Jiangchen, I know about this corpse cliff. It's the most mysterious and insidious sect in the entire Eastern Domain. The cultivation methods and immortal techniques they practice are basically the opposite of ours. I was a little curious before, but now that I know it's a branch of the Black Sect, it's normal. Great Elder, can you do me a favor? Jiangchen sat on the stone platform and asked. Just ask if I can do it, I'll definitely do it. Su Qian didn't say anything and immediately agreed. Except for the fact that he couldn't reveal the true identity of the Qinji sect to Jiangchen. No matter what Jiangchen said, he would agree. Help me investigate the corpse cliff. When I was fighting with the sect master of the Black Sect, he said that I was somewhat useful to his plan, so he wouldn't kill me for the time being. Jiangchen took a deep breath. Thinking of the conversation with the sect master of the Black Sect, Jiangchen felt confused. He had just ascended to the immortal world and had nothing to do with the outer domain. Why would he need his soul in his plan? Oh! Jiangchen's words made Su Qian a little surprised. My new disciple is also in his hands. No matter what, I must rescue her. Jiangchen clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. When he ascended before, the opponents he encountered at the beginning were not very strong. This time, after ascending to the immortal world, the first opponent he encountered was not weaker than the 3 immortal kings. Moreover, Bai Xinling made it clear that she would not help him before his life was in danger. Su Qian walked in front of Jiangchen, stretched out his dry hand and put it on his shoulder, and said in a hoarse voice, Don't worry, let me investigate it for you first. Okay. Jiangchen nodded. At this point, there seemed to be no better way than waiting patiently. It was impossible to investigate the clues of the sect master of the Black Sect from the corpse cliff. He could only wait for Su Qian to investigate it. However, after waking up, Jiangchen was indeed thinking about the Love Valley. The corpse cliff was in the east of the Eastern Domain, which was the closest to the outer domain. The Love Valley was in the Snow Mountain area of the Northern Domain. It should be the same as the Citra family and the Black Cloud sect. The sect master of the Black Sect would not intervene. Great Elder, I have to go back to the Northern Domain. Thinking of this, Jiangchen quickly said to Su Qian, I think you'd better stay here and recuperate. If you go back in your current state, those people in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain will definitely be worried about you. Do you want those masters to come and fight with the sect master of the Black Sect? Su Qian stopped Jiangchen. Chapter 1736. I'll go to another branch of the Black Sect to check out the situation. Jiangchen shook his head. He wouldn't let the 9 mountain masters of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain join forces to attack him. Moreover, he was facing such a powerful person as the Black Sect's sect master. If things went wrong, he might even lose the entire Kunlun Immortal Mountain. After all, the Black Sect was not as simple as the Black Cloud sect. Aren't you afraid that the Black Sect's sect master will attack you again? Su Qian frowned. He was now worried about Jiangchen's safety. I don't think so. Jiangchen pondered for a while and said, I'll go with you. Seeing that Jiangchen had decided, Su Qian clapped his hands. There's no need for that. Jiangchen chuckled and explained, I was careless before. Now that I've learned my lesson, even if I meet him again, I can easily escape. With the help of the myriad transformations heavenly lamp, Jiangchen could easily escape from any place. Not to mention the Black Sect's sect master. Even a real immortal emperor might not be able to keep up with him. Are you sure? Although Jiangchen said so, Su Qian was still worried. Great Elder, don't you believe me? Jiangchen smiled faintly. The reason he went to the Love Valley was not just to inquire about the Black Sect Master, but also to find out why Wang Min was related to the Black Sect Master. With the White Immortal King and the others following you, I can rest assured. Su Qian couldn't persuade Jiangchen, so he agreed. No, let them stay in the China sect for the time being. I'll go to the Snow Mountain in the northern region to take a look myself. Jiangchen shook his head and continued after a while. Please tell them that I'm recuperating in seclusion. Help me hide it. I really don't know what to do with you. Su Qian stared at Jiangchen for a while and agreed helplessly. Thank you, Great Elder Su. Jiangchen cupped his hands and smiled. After speaking, Jiangchen directly turned into a ray of light and rushed out of the hall. However, there was still a faint green color attached to the light, which was the saint healing technique, slowly healing the injuries in his body. Su Yun Tian, your young master has left. Su Qian only spoke after Jiangchen's figure vanished in the horizon. In the main hall, space wriggled, and Su Yun Tian walked out from it. His face was red, and it was obvious that he had just drunk a lot of wine. You make it sound like I'm not your young master. Su Qian shook his head slightly. Isn't he seriously injured and recuperating? Where did he go? Su Yun Tian staggered as he turned his head and looked outside the main hall. The Snow Mountain of the northern region, Su Qian said calmly. Why is this brat going to the northern region's Snow Mountain? Could it be that it's a holy place for healing? Su Yun Jian was a little confused. One of the Black Sect sub-schools is in the Snow Mountain. He wants to go there to inquire about the situation. He doesn't allow the people around him to follow him. I'm worried that there may be a problem. Su Qian slowly said. Why didn't you say so earlier? Su Yun Tian's eyes, which were still cloudy and drunk, instantly became clear. He threw away the wine jug in his hand and said loudly, Young Master's current cultivation is only at the 4th level of the Heaven Immortal Realm. If he meets an expert, he won't have the ability to survive. After saying this, Su Yun Tian flew out and disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. Yun Tian, remember, once you are recognized, don't call him Young Master. Call him Little Friend Jiangchen. Su Qian shouted at his back. Su Qian smiled and sat back on his chair. With an immortal monarch expert like Su Yun Tian following him, although he was not as strong as Bai Xiaoyan, he was still a famous expert. If the Black Sect Master's soul clone attacked again, he would definitely be able to withstand it. Snow Mountain domain of the northern region. There was a vast expanse of snow here, and the world was white. It was said that the snowfield was formed because of the unfortunate death of a top ice attribute immortal king tens of thousands of years ago. The immortal chi in his body spread out here, causing the temperature to drop and eventually turn into a vast snowfield. However, this was just a legend. Some people who wanted to search for treasures had searched almost all the places they could find, but they still couldn't find any clues. Arriving at the snowfield, Jiangchen immediately felt a burst of cold aura. He couldn't help but shiver as he thought of the past. If it wasn't for those things, Wang Min would have already become the young mistress of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. After all, when Jiangchen knew her, he didn't know Bai Fengyu yet. Stopping in a small town, Jiangchen asked around. Before leaving the immortal world, he knew that Wang Min had built the Love Valley here, but he didn't know the exact location. After knowing the location, Jiangchen gave the person some immortal jades and left the town, heading towards the Love Valley. The Love Valley was located on a high mountain at the edge of the snowfield. This place could be said to be the coldest place in the entire snowfield. Ordinary people couldn't live here at all. Even immortals couldn't withstand the bone-piercing cold. Only those above the true immortal realm could barely live here. Standing at the foot of the mountain, Jiangchen raised his head and looked up. On the peak of the mountain, he could vaguely see a white and majestic sect. Phew! Jiangchen exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi. Even now, he still didn't understand why Wang Min was related to the dark sect. In his impression, she should be a very pure and sensible girl. but thinking about it was just thinking. If he wanted to find out why, he still needed to go and take a look. Going up the mountain along the path, Jiang Chen's mind kept recalling the past. Who are you? Don't you know that our love valley can't be casually approached? Before Jiang Chen reached halfway up the mountain, someone reached out and stopped him. Guest. Jiang Chen raised his head, looked at the young girl in front of him, and said with a smile, "How come I didn't hear that the sect had guests today?" The girl's pair of bright eyes stared at Jiang Chen. Our love valley almost never has guests. Even if there is, the sect master will inform us in advance. Is your sect master still Wang Min? Jiang Chen was startled and immediately asked, "How dare you? The sect master's name is not something you can call." Who would have thought that as soon as Jiang Chen opened his mouth, the girl directly became anxious. An ice sword slipped from her sleeve into her hand and directly stabbed at Jiang Chen without saying a word. "Is this how you treat your guests?" Jiang Chen's mouth had a smile as he dodged her attacks again and again, but did not make a move. This was all because of Wang Min. If it were any other sect, Jiang Chen would definitely do the same to the Black Cloud sect and the Citra family, directly bringing the masters under his command to force out what he wanted to know. But with Wang Min here, Jiang Chen couldn't treat her like the other sections. "Who exactly are you?" The girl was not a fool. After fighting for a while, she felt that Jiang Chen was only blindly defending and had no intention of attacking her. Chapter 1737. Call your elders here. Jiang Chen flipped his palm and snatched the ice sword from her. He then placed it in front of her. However, Jiang Chen did not expect the girl to turn around and shout at the sect. "Someone is causing trouble in the sect. Don't be like this." Jiang Chen panicked. He had planned to sneak into the Love Despair Valley to find Wang Min and ask her what was going on, but he didn't want to make a big deal out of it. He couldn't contact Wang Min in front of these people. Moreover, Jiang Chen could not meet Wang Min in this way. "Then why don't you leave now? If you dare to come near Love Despair Valley again, I'll ask the elders to teach you a lesson." The girl pointed at Jiang Chen and scolded him softly. "Give me back my ice sword. It was given to me by the sect leader. Wang Min gave it to you." Jiang Chen was stunned. He then raised the ice sword in front of him and looked at it carefully. Just as Jiang Chen was about to return the ice sword to her and leave temporarily before finding a way to enter Love Despair Valley to find Wang Min, a few figures appeared from the sect at the peak of the mountain. Slap! Jiang Chen slapped his head helplessly. "You're finished." The girl smiled at Jiang Chen as if she was trying to show him off. Then, she immediately distanced herself from him. A few figures appeared in front of Jiang Chen. The strength of this group of people was around the immortal venerable realm. The strongest one should be around the 6th level of the immortal venerable realm. This was already considered a strong sect in the northern region. "I'm the great elder of Love Despair Valley, Heartless Qingzi. Who are you? I've never seen you before. Why did you appear at the entrance of our sect and even try to hurt our disciples?" Heartless Qingzi stared at Jiang Chen. He shielded the girl behind him and questioned, "Should I call you Great Elder Heartless or Great Elder Qingzi?" Jiang Chen scratched his head. He wanted to be polite to Wang Min's subordinates. "Little brat, I'll teach you how to respect others." Jiang Chen's words sounded like flirtatious teasing to Heartless Qingzi. She swung the horsetail whisk in her hand and rushed towards Jiang Chen. Facing a 6th-level immortal venerable, Jiang Chen didn't dare to let his guard down. He took a deep breath and immediately mobilized the light element celestial power in his body. After transforming it into a long sword, he directly clashed with the horsetail whisk that Heartless Qingzi had thrown over. Boom! Jiang Chen couldn't help but take a few steps back. When he suppressed his true strength, he was no match for an immortal venerable. But if he went all out and killed the immortal venerable in front of him, how could he explain himself? No wonder you dared to cause trouble in the Passionless Valley. You have some skills. Heartless Qingzi snorted. The white whiskers on the horsetail whisk suddenly became extremely soft and extended endlessly. In the blink of an eye, they wrapped around Jiang Chen's long sword and even extended to his body. Fine, fine, fine. I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Jiang Chun let go of his sword. He realized that Elder Heartless Qingzi in front of him had the intention to kill him. If he continued to fight, he couldn't guarantee what would happen. He simply let go of the long sword and prepared to surrender. But the long sword and his arm were wrapped around by the horsetail whisk. There was no way he could throw the sword to the ground. When Jiang Chun raised his hand to show his surrender, the long sword was also raised above his head. Boom! A sudden clap of thunder sounded. The celestial power in the long sword resonated with the sky. A bolt of lightning was drawn down. Son of a bitch, you're obviously admitting defeat, but you're secretly harboring evil intentions. If I hadn't been battle-hardened, I'm afraid I would have fallen into your trap. Heartless Qingzi was instantly alert. His celestial power spread through the horsetail whisk to Jiang Chun's body. Let go of my hand. Jiang Chun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He hurriedly withdrew all his celestial power. Crack! Less than a breath later, a sudden clap of thunder directly struck down from the sky. One could see that the originally majestic snow mountain was directly cut by a quarter under Jiang Chun's attack. If it had been a little more slanted, perhaps the passionless valley on the peak of the mountain would have been split in half. And you still say that you don't have evil intentions? Seeing that the snow mountain was directly struck and a small part of it directly collapsed, revealing the ugly cross-section of the lightning strike, Heartless Qingzi's expression was distorted. Her pair of originally pretty eyes instantly turned red. There's nothing I can do about it. Jiang Chun shook his head repeatedly. He didn't want to fall out with this group of people at all. Who would have thought that he would make such a blunder? Take him back and let the sect leader deal with him. Heartless Qingzi was so angry that her whole body was trembling. The sect was almost destroyed under her nose. This was the most infuriating thing she had encountered in all her years in the sect. If she let Jiang Chun go just like that, she really couldn't take it lying down. Sigh. Jiang Chun sighed. He didn't think that he would have to use this method to see Wang Min. However, if he continued to struggle, he would be in a deadlock with the people of Love Valley. In Love Valley, Jiang Chun was brought in by Heartless Qingzi and the others. As soon as he entered the sect, he could feel an even colder aura. However, this aura was different from the one in the snowfield. It was not simply cold, but mixed with the fluctuation of a mortal qi, which seemed to be intentional. Little brat, you wait here for the sect leader. You better hope that the sect leader will punish you lightly. Heartless Qingzi looked at Jiang Chun, who was standing in the middle of the hall, and said coldly, Okay. Jiang Chun nodded helplessly. Soon, Wang Min was called out. She was wearing a white robe and exuded a cold aura. It seemed that wherever she stood, the place would be instantly covered with ice and snow and become extremely cold. Sect leader, this person has been loitering outside our sect and even tried to hurt our disciples. After I stopped him, he attacked our sacred mountain. If we don't punish him, wouldn't it damage the dignity of our loved Despair Valley? Heartless Qingzi cupped his hands at the fugitive and then pointed at Jiang Chun. Oh, why did you attack the sacred mountain of Love Valley? Wang Min raised her head and looked at Jiang Chun indifferently. With just one glance, the shock in her eyes almost overflowed. This face was the face that she had sealed in her mind for tens of thousands of years. She had almost forgotten it, but she didn't expect to see it again one day. Jiang Chun was also stunned. Wang Min's appearance didn't change much from what he remembered, but she had become much colder. She stood there like a block of ice. Ahem, I don't know why, but I suddenly failed. Jiang Chun smiled helplessly. Facing her, the words in his stomach disappeared without a trace. He could only answer whatever was asked. Great Elder, what do you think we should do? Wang Min asked with her hands behind her back, looking away from Jiang Chun. Throw him into the dungeon. Heartless Qingzi said loudly. I don't think so. Let's stop here today. I have something important to do. Jiang Chun laughed. Chapter 1738. Don't be so cheeky. Who would have thought that Heartless Z could not take it when Jiang Chun laughed? She pointed the horsetail whisk in her hand at Jiang Chun, as if she was going to attack him. Okay. Jiang Chun quickly stopped smiling. Great Elder, you go out first. I'll interrogate him alone. Wang Min looked coldly at Jiangchun. There was no trace of emotion in her voice. Even this cold voice could push people 1,000 miles away. All right, I'll keep an eye on Mei Er. It's almost time for her to come out. The Great Elder nodded and stared fiercely at Jiangchun. Then, she swung her horsetail whisk and walked out. Wait, Mayor. Jiangchun was taken aback, and he hurried to ask. Don't tell me you dare to interfere with our sex affairs? Heartless Z glanced sideways. Of course not. Jiangchun smiled and answered. He denied it on the surface, but in his heart, he had been guessing. Could it be that Nayland Mayer had also ascended? But this was too much of a coincidence. How could she have joined Wang Min's sect? I don't think you dare. Heartless Z snorted. All of you leave too. Wang Min looked at the other female disciples standing in the hall and said softly, Yes, sect leader. Everyone nodded and quickly left. When only she and Jiangchun were left in the hall, Wang Min sighed deeply and sat on the ice platform. Once upon a time, she thought that she would never have the chance to see Jiangchun again. When Jiangchun left the immortal realm, she did not even know about it. A long time later, when the 10,000 Creations immortal sect was destroyed, she was worried about Jiangchun's safety and when to find out. Only then did she know that Jiangchun was no longer in the immortal realm 10,000 years ago. Little Min, Jiangchun pursed his lips and said the name that he had not said for a long time. I'm the sect leader of Love Valley. Please show some respect. Wang Min looked coldly at Jiangchun. I also just ascended to the immortal realm. While Jiangchun was talking, he had been looking at her carefully to see if there was any difference between her and the group of people under the Black Sect's sect master. However, no matter how he looked at it, he didn't find anything wrong. In fact, Jiangchun even suspected that Hit was telling the truth. What does your ascension to the immortal world have to do with me? Wang Min's expression did not change, but her slightly trembling pupils betrayed her inner thoughts. It's nothing, but I did come here today because I have a serious matter to discuss with you. What is your relationship with the Black Sect? How did I know that your Love Valley is a branch of the Black Sect in the outer domain? Jiangchun walked to her side and asked in a deep voice, You disappeared for tens of thousands of years, and now you want to interrogate me as soon as you reappear? Wang Min sneered coldly. Looking at the man next to her, she had thought he would give her an explanation or hear about what Jiangchun had been through in the lower realm. However, to her surprise, he had interrogated her as soon as he opened his mouth. Do you know what kind of sect it is? Jiangchun took a deep breath. To tell you the truth, my disciple has been captured by him. If you know anything about the Black Sect, you must tell me. I have nothing to do with the Black Sect. If you don't have anything else, please leave. Otherwise, if the Great Elder sees you, he will catch you again. Wang Min got up and walked toward the back of the hall. Wait! Jiangchun opened his mouth to stop her. Is there anything else? Wang Min turned around and said, Jiangchun, if I remember correctly, there should be no relationship between the two of us. You are a stranger who broke into Love Valley. I'm already being lenient by not dealing with you. I hope you don't push your luck. After dropping this sentence, Wang Min left without looking back. Gazing at her back, Jiangchun let out a deep sigh. Memories of his time with Wang Min surfaced in his mind. Although he didn't know how long it had been, every time he thought of it, the memories were still vivid in his mind. Standing in the hall, Jiangchun knew that Wang Min would not forgive him for the time being, so he walked out directly. Compared to investigating the Black Sect, he was now more interested in the disciple called Mayer. Calculating the time and cultivation, it should be time for Nayland Mayer to ascend to the immortal realm, but there was no news for a long time. The time now should be just right. Sneaking out of the hall, Jiangchun sensed heartless Qingzi's aura and walked toward the back of the sect. At the back, Jiangchun saw them standing in front of a bungalow. In the bungalow, immortal power was constantly spreading out. Their strength was around that of an immortal, and this fluctuation was very familiar to Jiangchun. It is indeed Nayland Mayer. Jiangchun smiled. However, since they were in the Love-Despair Valley, Jiangchun didn't have the nerve to approach them directly. He was afraid that he would make their relationship even more tense. After confirming that Nayland Mayer had already ascended, he hurried to leave. In a room at the side of the hall, Wang Min sat on the bed, her mind in a mess. Until now, she felt like she was in a dream. How could the Jiangchun who was usually in the depths of her memory suddenly appear in front of her? Creak! Just as she was thinking, the door of the room was suddenly opened. I don't want to deal with the sex matters now. Go and find the Great Elder. Wang Min retracted her dazed expression and became cold again. If I go and find the Great Elder, won't I be beaten up again? Jiang Chen's voice came from behind her. Jiang Chen, this is my room. How dare you barge in? Hearing this, Wang Min immediately picked up the ice soul sword beside her and stabbed it towards Jiang Chen's chest. Feeling the cold temperature, Jiang Chen closed his eyes and stood where he was quietly. The ice soul sword stopped in front of Jiang Chen's chest and pierced through his clothes. Wang Min stopped in time. Her hand that was holding the ice soul sword was trembling. Jiang Chen, let me remind you again. Before you left the immortal realm, we no longer have anything to do with each other. I don't care what you want to do now that you have returned to the immortal realm, but I hope you can know your limits. Xiaomin, I do have something very important that I need you for. The Black School didn't appear until after I left. The Outer Zone didn't become arrogant until after I left. I don't know anything about them. Jiang Chen sighed, blocking the ice soul sword with his finger. That has nothing to do with me. Wang Min threw the ice soul sword on the ground. How can it have nothing to do with you? As far as I know, the Black Sect Master is planning a monstrous conspiracy. Your Love Valley is now his branch. If you don't break away in time, I'm afraid your sect will be destroyed. Jiang Chen was a little anxious. He didn't want to see Wang Min walk on such a wrong path. Who said that our Love Valley is a branch of the Black Sect? Who would have thought that when these words came out, Wang Min actually laughed? Chapter 1739. But soon, her face was covered with frost again. Elder Hitler of the Hitler family. Jiang Chen did not hesitate. He trusted Wang Min very much. Besides, there was nothing he couldn't say. Anyway, this family was already in his hands. No wonder. Wang Min looked thoughtful. This Hitler family had a grudge with our Love Despair Valley in the early years. At a sect meeting, this Elder Hitler took a fancy to Great Elder Heartlessy. After being rejected, he held a grudge and has brought trouble to our Love Despair Valley more than once. Huh? Jiang Chen opened his mouth wide. He didn't expect this to be the case. What Hitler said at the beginning should be true, and Love Despair Valley should want to use his hand to get rid of their opponent. Regarding this news, Jiang Chen was both angry and happy. He was angry that Hitler dared to lie to him at that time, and happy that not only was Love Despair Valley not a branch of the Black Sect, but he also found the ascended Nayland Mayor here. So, there is no use for you to come here. Our Love Despair Valley is not a branch of the Black Sect. You can leave. After laughing, Wang Min's face regained its coldness again. I'm sorry for what happened back then. Jiang Chen took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, It's been too long. I don't know if it's 10,000 years or 100,000 years. It's useless to say sorry now. Wang Min shook her head. Why don't you come with me? Looking at her stubborn look, Jiang Chen felt a little uncomfortable. Impossible. I am the sect master of Love Despair Valley. This is my route. I can't leave here. Wang Min refused coldly. We are no longer people of the same path. That mayor is called Nayland Mayor, right? Seeing that Wang Min was not moved, Jiang Chen no longer insisted. You know her? I'm warning you. Mayor is the most talented disciple our sect has recruited in the past few thousand years. I am training her as the successor of the sect master. You'd better not have any designs on her. Wang Min turned around and said to Jiang Chen, She was my disciple when she was in the lower realm. She should have just ascended not long ago, right? Jiang Chen smiled awkwardly and asked, You? Wang Min angrily pointed at Jiang Chen. All right. They are my own disciples. How could I have improper thoughts about them? Jiang Chen reached out and held her fingers. He could feel the cold aura coming from them and said softly, You'd better remember what you said. Wang Min snorted. Sect leader, Mei has comprehended the extreme frost cultivation technique. Why don't you go and give her some pointers? Just as Jiang Chun was about to take the next step and get closer to Wang Min, the door to the room suddenly opened. Then, heartless Qingzi barged in. Before she could finish speaking, she saw a man standing in the room. One had to know that no one in the sect had the right to enter the sect leader's room except for her. Even the cleaning was done by the sect leader himself. Who are you? How dare you barge into the sect leader's room? Heartless Qingzi waved her horsetail whisk at Jiang Chun. She thought that Jiang Chun was here to cause trouble. The horsetail whisk directly hit Jiang Chun's back without any fancy moves. Jiang Chun spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood splattered on Wang Min's body. Even his aura instantly withered. His body went limp and he fell to the ground. Heartless Qingzi! Wang Min's eyes widened. Her lips trembled as she looked at Jiang Chun. She could only watch as Jiang Chun fell to the ground. Sect leader, he barged into our sect. Now that he has barged into your room, I have to get rid of him. Otherwise, what if he hurts you? Heartless Qingzi was shocked by Wang Min and hurriedly explained. But you can't just hurt him without asking for the reason. Wang Min became very agitated. She was no longer as cold as before. Although her attitude towards Jiang Chun was not good, it was still suppressed deep in her heart. Then what should we do? Heartless Qingzi realized that she had done something wrong. She was a little flustered. Save him. Wang Min didn't say anything. She helped Jiang Chun to his feet directly and took him to her bed. Sect leader, who is he? Heartless Qingzi was confused when she saw Wang Min's actions. In the long years since the establishment of the sect, countless people had tried to woo the sect master. However, the sect master was not interested in those geniuses at all. Some of them were even chased out by the sect master when they came. Heartless Qingzi could not understand why such a sect leader was so anxious about a person who had barged into the sect and even scolded her. Don't ask first. Go and take out all the elixirs in our sect. Also, contact the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. Although our sect is not on good terms with them, there is no enmity between us. Ask them to prepare some supreme-grade elixirs. No matter how many celestial jades they cost, pay them all. Wang Min looked at Jiang Chun with a worried expression. But sect leader, our sect has never been in contact with other forces. There is probably less than 200 million celestial jades left in the sect. The elixirs in the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy are not cheap. Moreover, once we buy them, where will we get the subsequent expenses from? Heartless Qingzi could not understand and hurriedly explained. Don't worry about that. Do as I say first. If the sect's expenses are not enough, I will think of other ways. Wang Min looked at Jiang Chun. Now that things had come to this, she could not care about anything else. If Jiang Chun really met with misfortune, she did not know how to live in the future. Okay, I'll go now. Hearing Wang Min's words, although Heartless Qingzi did not understand, he still ran out quickly. The room was quiet. Wang Min looked at Jiang Chun quietly. She took out a white towel and carefully wiped the bloodstains on his face. What are you doing here? Why did you barge into my room? Wang Min said as she wiped. Jiang Chun was the same as she remembered. Whether it was his appearance or personality, there was almost no change. After wiping the bloodstains, Wang Min took off Jiang Chun's bloodstained clothes. When she saw the wound on his back, some tears flowed out of her eyes. This was the first time she had such emotional fluctuations after establishing the Love-Despair Valley. In the past, even if a disciple had sacrificed himself, her expression would not even change. She stretched out her hand and pressed on Jiang Chun's back. Originally, she wanted to transfer her celestial force into Jiang Chun's body to help him recover. However, she was afraid that the attribute of her celestial force was not compatible with Jiang Chun's. If something happened, Jiang Chun's body would be even worse. Chapter 1740. He slept in Wang Min's room for 2 days. Not only did Jiang Chun secretly use the Saint Healing technique to heal his injuries, but he also broke through to the 5th level of the Heaven Immortal Realm with the help of the elixirs that Wang Min fed him. When Heartless Qingzi's horsetail whisk hit Jiang Chun's back, He had already condensed his immortal power to resist. Although he was injured, it was far from serious. As for the blood that he spat out and the coma that followed, it was all an act by Jiangchen. Other than that, Jiangchen could not think of any other way to stay here. The next day, Heartless Qingzi returned from outside the sect. He used the remaining 200 million immortal jade from the Passionless Valley to buy a supreme-grade elixir from the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. It was said that no matter how serious the injury was, as long as the person was still breathing, his life would be saved. It was just that his cultivation might dissipate. Sect Master, I've brought the elixir back. Heartless Qingzi hurried into the room and handed an exquisite wooden box to Wang Min. How much immortal jade is left in the sect? Wang Min fed the elixir to Jiangchen without hesitation. There are less than 20 million left. Heartless Qingzi sighed and said, Sect Master, this amount of money may not even last a year. We have to think of a way to get some immortal jade. Otherwise, the disciples will go hungry. Go pick a few immortal arts and sell them at an auction. Wang Min looked up at Heartless Qingzi and said lightly, Sect Master, you can't do that. Those immortal arts are the foundation of our Passionless Valley. If they spread out, our sect status in the northern region will plummet. Heartless Qingzi shook his head violently. Then what do you think we should do? Wang Min's mind was not on the sect at all. As long as Jiangchen could stay alive, nothing else mattered. It is said that the Heavenly Province Bank has a new young master. Why don't we borrow some immortal jade from the Heavenly Province Bank and return it when we have the money? Heartless Qingzi racked his brains to come up with a solution. She was very regretful now. She regretted attacking Jiangchen. That horsetail whisk had cost her 200 million immortal jade. Go. Wang Min casually waved her hand. Jiangchen heard these words clearly. Hearing that they were going to borrow money from the Heavenly Province Bank for him, Jiangchen was moved. However, the money they spent would all fall into his pocket in the end, which made him feel a little embarrassed. Cough, cough. Jiangchen coughed softly, pretending that he was about to wake up. If he didn't wake up soon, Wang Min might even sell out the entire sect to save him. Jiangchen didn't want to be the bad guy. You're awake. Wang Min quickly helped Jiangchen to sit on the bed. Well, how did I faint? Jiangchen nodded, looked at the woman sitting beside him, and asked softly. Heartless Qingzi thought that you wanted to harm me, so he attacked you directly. But don't worry, I've already fed you the elixir. Your body is fine, but your cultivation might be weakened a little. Wang Min said with a guilty look on her face. It's okay. Jiangchen was a little embarrassed, but he couldn't tell the truth. If there's nothing else, you should leave quickly. No man has ever lived in the Passionless Valley. You have already broken the rules by resting in my room for 3 days. If the other disciples find out, I'm afraid there will be trouble. Seeing that Jiangchen was fine, Wang Min gradually returned to her cold expression. She deliberately stood up from the bed and kept a distance from Jiangchen. Ouch, my head still hurts a little. Hearing that she was going to chase him away, Jiangchen quickly covered his head and lay on the bed in pain. Jiangchen, don't think that I don't know what kind of person you are. You can't fool me with this little trick of yours. Wang Min snorted coldly. Jiangchen had used this trick countless times before. I'm still a little uncomfortable. Jiangchen chuckled. You, sect leader, the young palace master of the Heavenly Palace is here. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, interrupting Wang Min's words. Then the voice of a disciple came in. Heavenly Palace? Wang Min looked a little unhappy. Heavenly Palace. This name is a little familiar. If I remember correctly, it should be a subordinate sect of our 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, right? Jiangchen turned over and got off the bed. He stretched his body and asked faintly, Yes, it's a subordinate sect of your 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Since your father was suppressed, he would come here once every 500 years. Speaking of this sect, Wang Min was a little disgusted. Why did he come here? Jiangchen asked curiously. It has nothing to do with you. Wang Min answered coldly. Then, she pushed open the door and walked out. Little you, take me out to have a look. Yes, sect leader. Sect leader, Little you nodded. But just as she was about to turn around and go out with Wang Min, she glanced around and saw a man standing in the sect leader's room. She was so shocked that she almost cried out. Since the day she entered the sect, she had never seen a man in the sect. And the sect leader, who had always rejected many geniuses, was actually in the same room with a man. This was simply more shocking than the news that the immortal world was about to explode. Shoo! Jiangchen made a shushing gesture to her. Little Yu nodded and left with Wang Min standing in the room. Jiangchen recalled this heavenly palace. He remembered that before he left the immortal world, the young master of this sect was obedient to him. The heavenly palace was also one of the few sects that obeyed the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect the most. But when the three immortal kings collectively attacked the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect, this sect immediately drew a clear line. Although they did not help the three immortal kings, their decision of inaction indirectly led to the destruction of the immortal sect. Thinking of these past events, Jiangchen lifted his foot and walked out. Outside the gate of the Passionless Valley, the young master of the heavenly palace, Luo Quan, was standing outside with his disciples. The disciples were holding a few wooden boxes in their hands, and inside were pills that were shining with flowing light. Luo Quan, what are you doing here? Wang Min floated out of the main hall, looked at him coldly, and asked, Little Min, since the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was destroyed, I have been begging you the most. Now that so many years have passed, can't you see my sincerity? Luo Quan glanced at Wang Min without leaving a trace. After swallowing his saliva, he pretended to be a gentleman and asked bitterly, I have nothing to do with your heavenly palace. No matter how many times you come, I will give the same answer. Go back. Hearing his words, Wang Min was not swayed at all. I came here this time because I learned that Elder Heartless Z went to the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy to buy elixirs. Thus, I brought the supreme grade elixirs from the heavenly Luo Palace. I hope they can help you. As Luo Quan spoke, he waved his hand at the disciple behind him. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.